Thank you. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, there was one of the times they had me. They decided they were just going to decide to torture me. They had me on the stand for 45 minutes asking me questions. My mouth was so dry. The councilman actually had to stop and say, "Do we need to get you some water?"
Good evening. This public hearing of the Baltimore County Council will now come to order. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you all for your attendance this evening. This hearing is convened pursuant to Section 708 of the County Charter to hear comments on the proposed county budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020. The budget is available for inspection from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. during weekdays in the county budget office located on the mezzanine floor of the historic courthouse building. The hearing is also being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 6-308 of the Tax Property Article of the Maryland Annotated Code regarding the constant yield tax rate. A copy of the required constant yield tax rate advertisement is available for review. In addition, this hearing is being held pursuant to Section 11-1-102 of the County Code, which requires the county to hold a public hearing prior to the levy or imposition of a tax. This year, the annual budget bills submitted by the executive include the Budget and Appropriation Ordinance, the Personnel Law, and Bill 1919 to levy and impose a property tax for the taxable year beginning July 1st, 2019, and to fix the rate for such a taxable year at $1.10 on each $100 of assessed valuation. In addition, in support of the county executive's proposed budget, the administration has submitted several revenue bills. This includes Bill 20-19, which increases the income tax rate, Bill 21-19, which imposes a wireless telephone tax, Bill 22-19, which increases the hotel tax rate, and Bill 23-19, which imposes a development impact surcharge. Representatives of the administration will briefly present the executive's revenue bills. Following this presentation, anyone who signed up earlier with the secretary to speak will be given up to 2 minutes to provide their comments and testimony. Any speaker who has a prepared statement or other document for distribution to the council should leave these documents at the staff table in front of the dais. The documents will be distributed to the council members after the hearing. Please note there's a timer in front of you that will display the remaining time as you speak. When a speaker is called, the name of the next speaker will also be called. Please be prepared to testify when your name is called. With that, Mr. Keith Dorsey is here to present the bills. Mr. Dorsey.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Council. As you all recall, the County Executive has said on several occasions that in crafting this budget that we were facing an $81 million shortfall. Now, in order to craft the budget and close the gap that we were looking at, we also had to move forward with some of the priorities that both residents, the county residents have indicated. If you recall, the county executive held and conducted extensive public engagement efforts, including town hall meetings in each of your districts. The budget and the bills before you are a reflection of some of those concerns that were raised by citizens, as well as the priorities shared by hundreds of residents in that process. Knowing that he was facing a significant shortfall, the county executive asked department heads to first look internally at options for reducing costs within their budgets, and we identified more than $20 million in savings. However, to meet all of our obligations and to continue provide critical services, to invest in quality of life improvements, and to move forward on those priorities that residents shared, we needed to come up with new revenues. And so the budget before you, along with the revenue bills, accomplished those goals. First of all, there's the annual budget appropriation that you have before you. It is, I think, $2.2 billion in terms of general fund. Total funds for all expenditures is, I believe, roughly $3.7 billion. We have not before you tonight, there's also a bill in terms of personnel laws of Baltimore County. And then, as the chairman mentioned, there are several revenue-oriented bills in terms of the Bill 1919, which deals with the property tax. The property tax remains at the current $1.10 rate that's been in place since July 1, 1988. That means that the personal property rate is also held at $2.75, and there's no change in the homestead assessment cap, which is at 4%. You have Bill number 2019, which deals with the income tax. This bill would increase the local income tax from from 2.83% to 3.2%, bringing the county to the same rate as the state's other large jurisdictions. Last time we changed that rate was in 1992, when it was raised from 50% on the piggyback tax to 55% related to the piggyback tax. That's equivalent to what you have today as the $2.83, 2.83% rate is equivalent to those changes that were made back then. The state authorized the county to raise that rate up to $3.2%, and that's what is being proposed. That change would generate an additional $33 million in terms of for the upcoming fiscal year. The bill 2119 deals with tax on telephone and wireless services. It expands the telephone tax, the existing telephone tax is on landlines is at 8%. That's going to remain unchanged. But this bill proposes $3.50 on wireless lines for each account. It also would impact in terms of the voice over internet protocol, the VoIP lines as well. And we believe that in terms of if, in fact, because of the change in people's dependence on wireless versus landlines, the change from the period before cell phones became very popular actually would have had, based on our population growth, had us closer to $20 million in terms of the amount that would have been generated. This proposal also expects to generate almost $30 million in fiscal 20. The third bill is one that deals with the transient occupancy tax, which also is known as the hotel motel tax. It is a tax for anyone. It's currently at 8%. What is being proposed is to increase the rate from 8% to 10%, which would also allow us to focus more money on various tourism type programs. The change also incorporates charging online travel platforms like Airbnb and the vacation rentals by owners, the VRBO accounts. So that effort there would generate, we're anticipating that would be about $2.5 million for that one. And the last of the bills that are going to be before you is the development impact surcharge. It's an excise tax that on development on certain additional construction and new construction. And this bill is one that will work toward exceptions for things like farm construction, government buildings, religious institutions, and development within enterprise zones. There's rates for residential new construction that range from $5,000 for multifamily units to $7,500 for attached units, and then $10,000 for those that are detached units. And then the non-residential component, commercial ones, is based on a square footage amount. Those changes that we have, and as it was presented, phases in at $7.7 million is what we have included in the budget. However, in the past several weeks, the administration has been working closely with stakeholders to craft amendments that, particularly in terms of eliminating the impact on projects that are already in the development pipeline. And so at some point we were looking forward, working with the council in terms of addressing a surcharge that is both meaningful and fair policy as we address our future growth and needs.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. We have 5 pages of public speakers. Before we get into the public speakers, is there any comments or questions from the council for Mr. Dorsey? Okay. Well, thank you. We're going to go into the public speaker section. It's 2 minutes per speaker only because we want to make sure everybody has a chance to be heard. And with 5 pages, this could last pretty much through the late evening. And so we are going to limit it to 2 minutes. I would ask you to respect your time. If somebody has already said something that you wanted to say but you feel like it's been said, you're more than welcome to yield your time. And then, so what I'll do is I'll call your name, and then I will call the next speaker after the first speaker. So the person that will be after the first speaker, the second speaker will be sitting right up here. Chrissy, can you wave? Just wave so everybody. Yeah, right up here. Just in that way we can facilitate and move everybody along. I would ask you to, in order to keep this going, and if you could, as much as possible, hold your applause, or please be respectful so everybody can hear what's being said. I'd very much appreciate that. So why don't we begin? Our first speaker is Cheryl Pasteur, followed by Scott Phillips. Cheryl, are you here? And then Scott, if you could come up and sit up in the, in close to. Oh, there. And Scott, if you can make your way on up and just sit right up in the front. And then after Scott, it's Carolyn Colvin. And good evening. Thank you for coming today.
Well, good evening, Council Chair Quirk and Council members. I'm Cheryl Pasteur, Baltimore County School Board member, retired educator of 36 years, 25 in Baltimore County. I understand that I have 2 minutes, 2 minutes to tell you that this budget makes a strong start to hiring more teachers to narrow the divide in schools and classrooms which are overcrowded and too often poorly staffed. 2 minutes to tell you that this budget goes a long way to address the hunger felt by our farms, SNAP, and CEP recipients. I have 2 minutes to tell you that our educators deserve the income and support commensurate with the importance of what they do for our children each and every day. 2 minutes to tell you that this budget points to the recognition that this is a beautifully diverse system with students who need and deserve language supports, more counselors, social workers, and psychologists, lending ears and hearts to listen to them. 2 minutes to remind you that we have schools which are in egregious conditions, not just overcrowded, but crumbling around the children we promise to keep safe, the children we claim to value. I had 2 minutes to tell you that passing the county executive's proposed budget, particularly the education components, is about giving life to our children and our county. But I know you knew all of that before I came up here.
Our next speaker is Scott Phillips, followed by Carolyn Colvin. Carolyn, are you here? Okay. I'm good. We're okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the council. My name is Scott Phillips. I'm an active member in the community and currently serve as the chairman of the Baltimore County Planning Board. I'm here today to testify in support of the county executive's budget and to bring attention to my concern for equity in the expenditure of county resources, particularly for my colleagues and neighbors in the northwest and southwest areas of the county, which happen to have the largest population of minority residents. We are an aging community. Our infrastructure, to include roads and utilities, are in desperate need of repair and remediation. As I sit in our planning board meetings, I listen to residents from all around the county voicing their concerns for traffic congestion, potholes, speeding cars, the inability for pedestrians and cyclists to walk and ride safely, residents who deal with constant flooding, and parents complaining about overcrowded schools and aging school buildings. In my area along Liberty Road, we have aged and inadequate infrastructure that impedes investment from the commercial sector, relegating the corridor to a hodgepodge of retail establishments. The county executive's proposal to increase county revenue through targeted fees and taxes is smart. It is clear we should not attempt to balance our budget without being honest about the need we have to address our aging infrastructure. This cannot be done without increasing county revenue. At the same time, we must continue to look for ways to decrease our expenses where feasible. The proposed budget does both. Equity. This budget creates the position of Chief Diversity Officer to ensure the county applies an equal lens to all decisions. This is important. I'm especially concerned about that equity lens as it relates to capital investment. In December of 2017, there was a report from our neighbors in Baltimore City from their planning department. The study looked at capital expenditures over a 10-year period and revealed a disparity in how dollars were spent. The study revealed capital project expenditures favored white and wealthier neighborhoods over black and poor neighbor communities. I believe the same is true for Baltimore County. It is through this equity lens that these and other issues of fairness will be addressed. I thank you for this opportunity and ask the council to vote to approve the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Carolyn Colvin, followed by Ivan Lutwin.
Good evening. I'm Carolyn Colvin, the former acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration and also a current member of the Baltimore County Commission on Fiscal Sustainability, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the county executive's budget. As a member of the Commission on Fiscal Sustainability, I've had the opportunity to participate in a thorough review of the county's finances. I have learned that Mr. Olszewski inherited significant fiscal challenges. In fact, in last year's budget, analysts in the county's Office of Budget and Finance warned, and I quote, "It is assumed that a sizable infusion of new revenue will be approved in FY20 in order to meet the assumptions of the forecast." They further stated, without this new revenue, dramatic reductions in services and fundamental costs will be needed. The county does not have a performance management system, which is essential to understanding the impact of government spending on the lives of county residents, nor do most of the county departments have strategic plans which are critical to measuring progress. And I know that the county executive's budget will address those two areas. Mr. Olszewski's budget reflects that he is committed to investing tax dollars responsibly. His budget addresses the deficit which he inherited and makes investments in schools, sustainability, and infrastructure. It dedicates record funding to education, more than $1.8 billion, and provides the county's share to build and renovate elementary and middle schools. It freezes in-county tuition at the Community College of Baltimore County and expands access to the College Promise program. It also provides more than $37 million for road resurfacing projects. The county executive took steps to ensure that the county is on a sustainable path in years to come. The budget contributes $35 million to OPEB, the fund that provides health and life insurance benefits for retired county employees. In the previous administration, payments to the fund had been cut, and the fund would have been out of money in the next few years without investments. Let me just say that I urge you to approve the budget in its entirety to ensure that county residents will be able to continue to enjoy the quality of life they currently know and deserve. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Ivan Lutwin, followed by Ken Miller.
Good evening. My name is Ivan Lutwin, and I live in Pikesville. Councilman Patoka is my councilman. I want to voice my opposition to some of the proposed tax increases in the county executive's budget and to urge the council to oppose them. Based off of published reports, there is a $3.50 tax per cell phone per month in the budget. That would cost my family of four an additional $168 annually and that's post-tax money after the federal government takes their share. So I really need to make about $225. In addition, the change in the income tax level from 2.83% to 3.2 would cost my household nearly another $550 based off of the dollars that I earned in 2018. The total impact on my household of only these two tax increases exceeds $715. That's a lot of money. So I really need to earn a lot more than even $715 to pay for all that. I've seen reports that the county executive wants to bring our tax rate in line with other counties in the region. How about keeping it at 2.83% and using the lower tax rate as a selling feature to attract and retain businesses and residents? The county has had so much residential development over the past 20 years. I would like to know where all the property tax revenue that we're getting from those homes is going. Many people were hurt financially under the new federal tax law that caps the state and local tax deduction at $10,000 for write-offs. The additional proposed taxes will impact us negatively as we can no longer write off 100% of the SALT taxes. Now this is a double whammy. I understand that many BCPS employees will applaud a very well-deserved raise. I caution them that after these tax increases, a good chunk of that pay raise is going to be negated by many of the taxes. This is nothing but a three-card Monte game being played with tax dollars, and in the end, just like in all three-card Monte games on the street, you're going to lose. Councilman Patoka, I urge you and your colleagues to vote no on those particular taxes, and I don't want to simply complain without offering to be part of finding a solution. So I'm happy to offer you my backyard, and I will fill it with people, and we could have a neighborhood forum, and we could discuss these taxes and the rest of the budget with our community.
Our next speaker is Ken Miller, followed by Betty LeBron. Ken? Is Betty here? Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman Quirk, County Councilman, and Councilwoman. My name is Ken Miller, and I'm a proud principal at Lansdowne High School. I've spent more than half my career in the Lansdowne community, 8 years as principal, 5 years as an AP at Arbutus Middle, 3 years as the teacher at Lansdowne Middle. I am a proud Viking. First, I want to thank you for all the support that you continue to give BCPS and Lansdowne High. I'm in here to express my support for the county executive's budget as it contains funds for the planning and construction of a new building when it comes to addressing the facility needs of Lansdowne High School. As principal, I'm responsible for leading my team in creating a safe and positive environment that will allow students to succeed academically, socially, and emotionally. This environment needs to allow staff to do their best when it comes to instruction and providing opportunities to enhance everyday life for a high schooler. This environment needs to be a place the community is proud to be part of and serves the needs of its members. We need a facility that supports instruction, not create obstacles. BCPS trains us to utilize data, develop strategic initiatives to increase academic success. There are a lot of factors that play into the data and strategies. One of these factors that we're always focused upon is equity. I'm asking you to provide us with a facility that is equitable to other schools. We're not ADA compatible. We do not have air conditioning. Our classrooms need to be larger in instructional space. We are using closets as offices, and items like paper and cleaning products just sit in the halls because there's no place to store them. In just a few short years, most of the incoming 9th graders enter our doors and will be coming from an amazing brand new building or a building that has climate control. Viking pride is a term we use all the time when bragging about all the accomplishments our students achieve. The list of academic achievements, team championships, or local, state, and even national recognitions that our artists and performers receive are endless. Think about how much pride we will have when we are not dealing with the hot and cold temperatures that force us to relocate classes due to the impact on student focus. Having halls that are not slanted to one side or stairwells that are not cracking or being closed for repair. A front office that is not cracked or the floor is sinking. Classrooms that are large enough to allow for a variety of instructional strategies, including the use of technology.
If we could conclude.
I'm asking you to be a Viking, take on this challenge, and approve this funding so the Lansdowne High School building can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Our next speaker is Betty LeBrun, followed by Senator Dolores Kelly.
Betty LeBrun, lifelong Marylander from Rosedale and now Owings Mills. I'm taking off tonight from my part-time restaurant job and losing money that I need to pay our high property taxes, high car insurance, car payments, etc., because this is important. I joined thousands of fellow countyans to vigorously oppose any tax hike for us already overtaxed Marylanders. I find it outrageous that Executive Johnny O and some of the council members would even consider and support this abomination. Maryland is already the 4th or 5th most heavily taxed state. Check out Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Delaware, et al. Executive Johnny O needs to find places to cut the spending, and we, the people, say it can and must be done. We don't need a diversity czar. We're doing just fine with diversity. Thank you. We don't need a climate change czar. The feds and the states are already working hard on this, and it would be a duplication, too much of this already in government. And by the way, so-called man-made climate change is a giant hoax. The Earth goes through periods of warming and cooling on its own. And also the public school teachers, and I was one, now retired, they can do without the 2% pay hike on top of the 3% that was negotiated by the powerful NEA union. They could do with maybe a 1% raise, share the burden with the rest of us for a total of 4%. That's pretty good, I would say. I propose that Executive Johnny O voluntarily take a temporary 2% pay cut for about 2 years, and the county council maybe take a voluntary 1% pay cut for 2 years. Finally, those of you who vote for this abomination, I promise you, thousands of us will spend money, time, and energy to defeat you in the next election. This is the voice of common sense. Listen to it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Senator Dolores Kelly, followed by Tom Moore.
Good evening to the chairman and all the members of the county council and the citizens of Baltimore County. I have a different take on what is before us. Just as with our homes, we don't like having extra expenses, but if we were all honest with ourselves, we all get them all the time. I just found out there are groundhogs in my yard, and I didn't put that in my budget, but I have got to deal with the problem. We all want children to be well educated. We want the teachers who are really good at doing that job to be able to afford to stay there and to do the job. It is not right for us to fuss and to quibble about, but when you split it all up, we each will have to pay a little more, but we need services. We don't need our cars torn up because the streets are not repaired. We need stormwater management. We don't need our yards soggy and full of mosquitoes. We need health services for children who have been traumatized before getting to school and who are therefore, based on their life experience, not able to sit in their seats and help us to have the kind of learning environment that works for the other kids. It takes something to do these things. We all have had surprises in our lives. After we worked hard, things happened and we couldn't get around. Just as Johnny O couldn't get around the fact that not only do we have an $80 million budget deficit, but also that we haven't even figured in what to do with the elderly Baltimore County retirees that the Fourth Circuit Court in Richmond has decided we must pay because under past administrations, the system was not fair. and what they had to pay into their retirement was discriminatory.
Thank you.
I won't say more, but I'm going to ask everybody to consider that these hardworking people, that we did a good job when we
Thank you.
elected them.
Thank
and
you.
we want to help them to do the job now for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom Moore, followed by Mike Carruthers. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk and members of the Council. I'm Tom Moore, Director of Arts and Culture at UMBC. On behalf of the university, I would like to express our support for several areas in the proposed 2020 budget. First, we endorse the proposed increase in the tourism budget to $1.8 million and understand that some of these funds, or funds from elsewhere in economic development, may help support the development of arts and entertainment districts throughout the county over the next several years. As you probably know, we are working with community stakeholders, especially with the Baltimore County Arts Guild and with staff from the County Executive's Office on a proposed arts and entertainment district for the southwest part of the county. In 2016, the state's 24 A&E districts, now 26 in number, not a single one in Baltimore County, contributed about $856 million to the state's GDP, generating $63 million in state and local tax revenue and about 8,600 jobs. These districts are economic drivers, leveraging the power of the arts to revitalize communities, improve the quality of life, and attract tourism, thereby supporting local businesses and restaurants. An investment made by the county in this area is likely to be returned many-fold. Recently, a group of student entrepreneurs at UMBC, with the support of the university, launched an initiative called Oka Mocha, a combination coffeehouse, art space, and community center that will be on East Drive in Arbutus. We regard Oka Mocha as a transformative investment in the community, and as we look forward to deepening the relationship with Arbutus and Catonsville, we note the critical need for bike lanes, pedestrian access, and critical street lighting, and therefore express our support for the expansion of the county budget for these types of improvements. And we, of course, endorse the proposed record funding for K-12 education and for additional support for CCBC. Students are the future of Baltimore County. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike Carruthers, followed by Abby Baton.
Thank you. I'm quite sure I'll be more than brief. I'm Mike Carruthers. I'm the developer of Baltimore Crossroads over on 43, and I thank you for allowing me to talk. And Councilman Bevins is my council person. Thank you, Kathy. I'm actually here for myself, not the industry. I'm a developer. I work with impact fees in almost every jurisdiction I work in, and we've become used to them, and we understand the need for them. I'm really impressed with the way Baltimore County is trying to implement the budget, because they're trying to, I don't know, help everyone or hurt everyone. I'm not sure which is the better term, but I understand that everybody's got to be part of the process. You can't lay the burden on just one individual or one group, and we're happy to be part of that process. We have, in Baltimore Crossroads, for example, we have over 7,000 employees working there since 2006. And Baltimore County's been very good to us. The reason they're coming, the reason people are living there, is because of the quality of life that exists within Baltimore County. We hope that that quality of life will continue on, and we want to be part of that process. We've never been one to build and sell. I sincerely hope that in years future from here, that your children will be on the council and be dealing with my grandson. I think it's important that everyone be part of the process. I have worked countless hours with the community down there. I'm on the board I'm on the board of Chamber of Commerce. I'm a co-chairman of the Roundtable, and I support this. My only concern is that once impact fees are implemented, they're easily raised, and these hurt us badly on projects we have in force or that we're developing. So I would hope that you would use these powers that you have to be as fruitful as you can with them.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Abby Baton, followed by Peter Richkis.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk and members of the council. My name is Abby Baton, and I am the president of the Teachers Association of Baltimore County. I brought a few of my folks with me tonight. And I want to recognize Julian Jones, who is my councilman. I have appeared in this chamber advocating for the BCPS budget for over the last 8 years. At some of those appearances, I was the only speaker on the budget. Tonight, it is a very different story. Why have folks decided to show up and speak out this time? The very mention of increased revenues has some folks again looking for fat in the system. County Executive Olszewski has sought out that fat and trimmed as much as made sense before he determined this budget. We asked teachers to give us some ideas of cuts that could be made at the school level, and they provided some ideas, but those ideas were nowhere near enough to cover much of the deficit. Our school system is still the heart and soul of our county. It is up to us to make sure we fully fund public education. The school system budget is just the first step in addressing the long-neglected needs we have seen increase exponentially within our schools. With more social and emotional needs, our staffing needs have increased beyond the increases in student population. Our neediest students deserve the additional human supports necessary for the best outcomes for each child. We applaud the county executive for including much-needed raises for teachers and support staff. We appreciate that he also included the additional positions for more classroom teachers and support positions as well. It truly takes a village to raise our children, and these extra staff positions are not added fluff for the system. As a society, we understand that great public schools truly affect the future of our society. Whether we look at housing values or the ability to attract new businesses or to give families a reason to locate in a given community, it is almost always comes down to the schools. When someone is left looking for a house, the first question most realtors must answer is, what is the quality of the school in this community? We need to do this. The kids are watching and waiting for us to all do the right thing. I know we can count on you to fully fund the education budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Peter Richkis, followed by Michelle Huggins.
Thank you very much, Chairman Quirk and members of the council. My name is Peter Richkis, and I live in Towson. Along with many in this room, I was among the hundreds of county residents crowded into one of the town halls co-hosted by County Executive Olszewski and council representatives in every district. The questions asked by county residents in the course of those town halls were an expression of their wants and needs. Wants and needs for a quality of life that longtime residents have felt was deteriorating before our eyes, and a quality of life that new residents have come to feel has not lived up to the promise that shaped their decision to move here. This is why there's been so much support expressed for the modest fees and income tax proposals under consideration. As the county executive has noted, as former executive cabinets footnoted, and has been stated in the Spending Affordability Committee for the last couple of years, the challenges of aligning county expenditures with revenues are now extraordinary. Quote, because for far too long, the county has been underinvesting in our public schools and our other needs, end quote. The near maniacal fiscal conservatism of the past has become irresponsible and has undermined our quality of life. We must turn a new page toward fiscal stability and responsible stewardship. The proposed increase in the piggyback income tax and the other proposed fees are not out of line and are necessary to move Baltimore County forward in a more sustainable way. The proposed revenue increases have been formulated to be progressive, not regressive, and county commitments to current employees and to retirees are being honored in a new spirit of partnership. Thank you to the council for passing the package of reforms. I now ask the council, after your review and deliberation, to also support the county executive's 2020 budget.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Huggins, followed by Delegate Bob Long.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Huggins, and I'm a resident of Randallstown, Northwest Baltimore County. I thank you for the opportunity to address the council on this very important issue related to the proposed budget for fiscal year 2020. As a 30-plus year resident of Baltimore County, I'm a taxpayer, a community volunteer, and a state government employee, so I certainly understand the dilemma with regard to budgets as we go forward. I also earned my college degree at Towson State University, just a few steps away from this very place. But I haven't always lived in Baltimore County. Having grown up on the east side of Baltimore City, I developed an appreciation for the value of living in Baltimore County most of my adult life. My parents moved our family to Northwest Baltimore County in the late 1980s to enrich our lives, to broaden our experiences, and to set us up for success as productive citizens. Baltimore County was known then for good schools, thriving neighborhoods, beautiful open spaces, green grass, clean, vibrant retail establishments, everything that makes for a great quality of life for residents. And we were willing to pay then, as we should be willing to pay now, to continue to have and enjoy all the resources, amenities, and infrastructure that have become the foundational basics of a quality of life that we have grown to love. We must be willing to invest for the greater good of our collective communities. My parents actually still live in that same home in Randallstown that we moved into in 1989. They will not leave, and neither will I. And while I was shocked a bit to learn in recent months that Baltimore County is way in the red, I understand the county executive's charge, and I'm willing to stand with him on his entire proposal to balance the budget for fiscal year 2020. Let's do what we have to do, even if it hurts us all just a little bit. Pass the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Delegate Bob Long, followed by Delegate Charles Sidner.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and council members. Delegate Bob Long here. I represent the 6th Legislative District, which is Essex, Dundalk, and Middle River, and Rosedale. I'm also a business owner, a concerned taxpayer, and I am very concerned about these taxes being raised. We've seen the history that has happened in the past with raising taxes and the effects, the adverse effects that it's had on Baltimore City. I understand that we're living in some tight budgets, but we need to learn to live within our means. Sometimes we have to do the hard work as leaders, and I would urge this body, whatever means they could take to keep these taxes from being raised. I had a lot of things written here today, but all the people in front of me had said a lot of these things. And we have seen, like I said, we have seen the effects of what overspending, overtaxing does to a community. Given that said, I would urge this body to not vote for any tax increases. I do applaud the county for not raising the constant yield rate, which they could also lower, and they have not changed our 4% cap on homeowners tax, homestead property tax credit. I would urge this body to work within its means and to look deep and work outside the box to try to come up with another solution besides raising taxes. And I thank you for your attendance, for your attempt. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Delegate Charles Sidner, followed by Bob Frank.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, County Council. My name is Charles Sidner. I'm a delegate in District 44B, which covers at least 3 of your jurisdictions. As a subcommittee chair of the Criminal Law and Procedure, as well as Baltimore County's House Delegation's Public Safety Chair, I can appreciate and fully support what this budget does for public safety. Whether it be settling the long-standing lawsuit from the Fraternal Order of Police, which means pay increases for our law enforcement officers and making compensation more competitive, providing planning and design funds for the new Wilkins Precinct building, equipping a career fire station with commercial-grade washing machines, to clean firefighter gear or dangerous carcinogens and other residue, and the $1.5 million for our volunteer company grant fund, or creating a position for a new opioid strategy coordinator. I believe the items budgeted for this important function of local government hits the mark. With regard to education, my wife and I have 3 daughters in the public school system, and I can appreciate the county executive for doing what he said he was going to do by providing a 2% cost of living adjustment for our teachers. That's right. The county portion of capital funding for all remaining schools for our future projects, which includes funding for the replacement of Bedford Elementary and Chadwick Elementary in our district. Now, in the state, we still have a little bit more money or funding and things that we have to do, or expanding the early college access program at Woodlawn High School. Finally, there are a few communities which were hurt by floods in 2016 and 2018. We hear about Ellicott City, Owella, and other parts of Catonsville. Many of us were less likely to hear about communities located along the Dead Run Stream in Gwynn Oak that flooded various communities and the ball fields at Woodlawn High School. That is why I'm glad to see this budget process creating the position of Chief Sustainability Officer, who will lead our county's efforts on environmental sustainability.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Frank, followed by Marilyn Maitland.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, you asked us not to be repetitive, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to meet that requirement. I'm just going to ask you all to support the capital budget proposal by Councilman Patoka for an enclosed outdoor stadium at Hannamore Park at the Martin J. Smith Field. This would be a unique facility in our area, although not unique to our state. It would be a seated grandstand with opportunities for recreation ball, for tournament ball, for high school ball, under the lights. It would include parking. It would include the opportunity for fireworks displays, concerts, other community events in Reisterstown, and we think this is the kind of project for open space that would just enhance our community, enhance our area, and enhance our whole council. So I would ask you all to consider support for this capital budget process. I hope you'll accept my apologies for not going the entire 2 minutes, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Marilyn Maitland, followed by Dave Suarez.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Maitland. I'm president of the Baltimore County Arts Guild. Thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts related to the decisions you will be making in this budget process. The Baltimore County Arts Guild is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide a home for the arts and culture, bringing excellent opportunities and educational experiences to enrich and expand the life of Baltimore County. We are dedicated to promoting the arts through revitalization, diversity, education, and outreach. Our initiatives are many and varied. They include opportunities to expand access to the arts by bringing the arts home to our local community. One major endeavor, which you've already heard Tom Moore from UMBC relate to, is our pursuit of arts and entertainment district designations throughout the county, which are issued by the Maryland State Arts Council and the Maryland Department of Commerce. These districts contribute significantly to the economic development of the county by providing diverse opportunities of cultural opportunity that will expand revenues for existing businesses and attract new commerce. In the recently released Johnson Consulting study prepared for the county, the results made clear that the county can and should be a world-class tourism destination. This report noted the importance of leveraging the creative arts and cultural districts, which are these arts and entertainment initiatives. We require the support of the additional funds in order to make this happen. We seek your support. We recognize that as a county, we are faced with difficult decisions. I urge you to consider how the arts, through these economic driver ventures, will provide long-term, high-yield return on investment that we make today. Thank you for the consideration you will give this and all these other matters.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Dave Suarez, followed by Amy Menzer.
As a Baltimore County resident, and on behalf of my fellow taxpayers who cannot be here tonight, it's my honor and privilege to speak out in opposition to the proposed tax increases. The $81.5 million budget shortfall is actually the sum of a chain of risky bad investments that produced miserable returns over the last 11 years. The costs of these mistakes are now being passed on to the taxpayer. We didn't vote to waste these dollars. The County Council should be focusing on return on investment. In the long run, it's what you keep, not what you make. When our tax dollars were collected, they were invested in risky securities and hedge funds. Baltimore County should invest in the Standard & Poor's 500 index without the use of contracted out money managers. Over time, your return on investment will be 7 to 8%. The County Council should be focusing on the pension and retirement system, which was funded at 118% in the year 2000. Today, the fund has fallen to 63%. In 2016, the New England Pension Consulting Firm lost $90 million of borrowed money. Why should we taxpayers pay for their mistakes? To manage a $2.5 billion fund, NEPC is being paid $21 million fee plus $263,000 in commissions trading risky securities and are doing a lousy job following a risky complex investment model. They lost our tax money, and the council voted in a new contract with them last September 17th. It's not what you keep, it's what you make. The County Council and the top administrators at the Baltimore County school system should not be receiving any COLAs or any pension increases until the county stops bleeding cash. Finally, last year's AAA bond rating has raised the rainy day fund by $100 million. This move only saves $2 million a year in interest payments over an investment grade bond rating. The budget won't be solved with higher taxes. When you leave tonight, think about how we can more efficiently employ the limited financial assets we already have.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Amy Menzer, followed by Beth Reingold. Amy Menzer, followed by Beth Reingold.
Good evening. I'm the Executive Director of Dundalk Renaissance, a nonprofit community development organization. On behalf of our Board of Directors, I urge you to support the County Executive's budget proposal, including the measures proposed to increase revenue. There are 3 things I want to tell you about why you should support the budget. Investments are needed now to secure the future of the county's tax base. We know that our inner Beltway communities are aging and need substantial upgrades, including school buildings, roads, commercial centers, and housing. Current residents in these neighborhoods expect and deserve the same quality of life and opportunities as those who first moved here when the homes were originally built. The time to address the desirability of these neighborhoods is now, before conditions deteriorate further and lead more of the middle class to look elsewhere to raise their families. The cost of deferring these investments will be far greater than the price tag you are considering today. Education, as many others have said, drives other investments and creates economic opportunity. A key factor for families in deciding where to purchase a home is the quality of our schools, and the proposed budget's investments in education are all important. We also need to do whatever we can as a county to prepare for and further needed capital investments in the schools. Investing in CCBC supports growing the earning potential of thousands of county residents, most of whom will stay and build their futures here. Their higher earning potential also strengthens our county tax base. And 3, investing in economic development and quality of life in our older neighborhoods and leveraging additional resources from the state of Maryland and other sources is a net win for Baltimore County. Initiatives the county executives propose, such as Main Street and arts and entertainment districts, can further help drive reinvestment in our older neighborhoods, bring our aging commercial districts back to life, and support entrepreneurs in pursuing creative and innovative businesses that provide employment and create destinations that attract and retain residents. We have leveraged more than $4 million from the state of Maryland since 2014. for similar investments in Dundalk. And the county could be leveraging that in other communities in the county with some investment from the county now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Beth Reingold, followed by Fred Chanteau.
Good evening, council members. My name is Beth Reingold, and I'm the Director of School and Community Engagement at the nonprofit HI, Comprehensive Housing Assistance Incorporated. We advocate for 8 BCPS schools in Councilman Patoka's district by providing them with resources, partnerships, grant funds, engagement staff, and other wraparound support. I've attended at least 3 of the county executives' town hall meetings, and I've read through the proposed budget. The budget gets our fiscal house in order to secure our schools, our children, and our future. Our interim superintendent has said we need more people for our people, and the county executive has delivered with more support staff for our overburdened teachers and principals. This budget will make a huge difference in schools that see children who suffer regularly from trauma, stress, homelessness, neglect, hunger, and abuse. The county executive has identified resources for more free breakfast for our hungry children. This budget is a step in the right direction for Baltimore County Public Schools, and our agency supports the proposed budget on behalf of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Fred Chanteau, followed by Henry Caligari.
Quite an assembly line. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, council members. My name is Fred Chanteau. I'm the CEO of affiliated Sante Group. We provide mental health crisis services throughout the county, as well as 60% of the counties in Maryland. All of our jurisdictions have mobile crisis teams and call centers. Our mobile teams are dispatched directly from 911 with police radios that our staff carry or by our call centers. Baltimore is unique in that a police officer partners with our clinician in an unmarked patrol car. The county makes additional services available as well that include urgent care, our psychiatrists, our clinicians, and intensive in-home family intervention teams. We also provide mass trauma debriefing and have been involved in many of the state's mass trauma events. Our crisis services have been available in Baltimore County since 2001. Throughout that time, we've worked cooperatively with the health department to ensure that services remain relevant and in touch with county needs. Over the last few years, this has led to a greater emphasis on substance use capacity and expertise. Under the health department's direction, we're currently exploring the development of a crisis stabilization center that would include crisis beds, substance abuse beds, 24-hour walk-in capacity, as well as substance abuse services. The handout I distributed gives you an idea of the volume of services we provide and their efficacy for the last several years. Besides the fact that thousands, literally thousands of residents have been served by us, 55% of them were successfully diverted from the hospital emergency rooms and 66% were linked to services. Based on the Health Care Blue Book, we're basically saving over $5 million in that period for charges alone from the hospitals. One of the things that our annual surveys say is that police wanted extra teams. That's why I'm here to thank you for your support of the overnight expansion of mobile crisis services. We've already served 220 people with that in the last 2 months. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Henry Caligari, followed by Liz Entwistle.
All right. Good evening. My name is Henry Caligari, and I am president of the Campus Hills Community Association right here in Towson. And I'm also a young husband and hopefully, maybe, in the next couple of years, a father. As both a community association leader and future parent, again, hopefully, I am here tonight in support of the county executive's proposed budget. While no budget is perfect, the county executive's plan is a much-needed step in the right direction. It makes critical investments in our schools, investments that benefit not only parents and teachers and students, but also Baltimore County as a whole by increasing property values, making our county a more attractive place to live for families with children or those who may have children in the future, and ensuring our future workforce is among the best educated in our state. The county executive's budget also makes crucial investments in infrastructure. And as just one example, the proposed Towson Circulator would make it easier for residents and visitors of our county seats to enjoy Towson's first-class bars and restaurants, which would support many locally owned small businesses in the process. Now, as I've said earlier, no budget's perfect, and I'm disappointed the State Senate did not provide crucial funding for school construction, especially for a new Towson High School or new Delaney High School. But we can't afford to wait and do nothing and fall behind neighboring jurisdictions. That is why I'm supportive of the county executive's budget proposal, because in short, it will make a better Baltimore County, one that I look forward to be living, working, and raising a family in. Thank you, and I would encourage you to support the proposed budget.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Liz Entwistle, followed by Deep Patel.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk and members of the council. My name is Liz Entwistle, and I live in Phoenix, Maryland, and I'm a constituent of Councilman Kutch. I'm here to testify in support of the proposed budget tonight and the supporting revenue bills that underlie it. As a retired attorney in the Maryland Department of the Environment, and specifically in the climate program, I applaud the administration for proposing an Office of Sustainability. I won't comment on education and the other needs that the bill is that the budget is intending to address, but I will focus more on the environmental pieces of this bill. And I guess my overriding comment is that we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for far too long in the county. I think most folks in this room know that. We had a stormwater management bill tax that the council, for good or bad, had and then repealed a few years back. That was generating $24 million a year to address our aging infrastructure of water and sewer, stormwater management, flooding. Now that needed work has to come out and does come out of the general fund, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I applaud our county executive for having the political courage and being the adult in the room to address these needs that have been kicked down the road for way too long. We have, in addition, federal mandates to address our aging water and sewer infrastructure. We have state and federal mandates with the EPA and the state of Maryland to address the pollutants, nutrients, and other pollutants going into the Chesapeake Bay. This all costs money. These are not expenses that can be deferred. So again, I applaud the proposed bill, and I urge this council to support it in full. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Deep Patel, followed by Otis Collins.
Good evening, Chairman and Councilman. My name is Deep Patel. I'm a student at UMBC, and for the past 2 years, I've been part of a student-led initiative called Okamoka. To elaborate more on what Mr. Tom Moore said, Okamoka is a shared multi-purpose space that fosters ongoing engagement between UMBC and its neighboring communities. Okamoka has 2 pathways for engagement. OKA, which stands for Opportunities for Community Alliances, and MOCA, a coffee shop that helps to build the economic development of the communities. I would like to share my enthusiasm and excitement for the proposed budget, specifically for infrastructure, a bike share program that would allow community members and students to easily travel to and from the UMBC and the neighboring communities, as well as tourism. As Tom Moore elaborated on, an arts district in the southwest Baltimore County would encourage more students to come to the community and also help with the diversity. Also, funding towards grants, and that would help the community to catalyze the economic development in the community as well as at UMBC. For the past 2 years, students, faculty, staff, and as well as community members have come together in support of this initiative The support has been shown through monetary engagement, resource allocation, and plan implementation. Okamoka has received roughly around $300,000 from UMBC, and this money has gone to develop towards building a space for Okamoka, and another $300,000 has been invested by investors to fund the coffee shop. And I'll just like to end up by saying we're eager for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Thank you. I'm going to take these 2 minutes real quick, folks. First of all, I'd like to thank all the teachers that's here tonight. I really appreciate you. You are some of the greatest people on earth, because otherwise I could not read this tonight. To the council, I'd like to thank you for being here. My name is Otis Collins. I'm the president of the Hillthorpe Civic League and president of the Wilkins Police Community Relations Organization. So how many of you ever needed a police officer in your life? Show me your hand. And how many of you don't like police officers? You can just do this. We're not going to do anything to you. But listen, folks, I'm going to make it quick tonight. In my precinct, Precinct 1, which is Wilkins Police Station, our building is older than anyone in this room tonight. Really. Now, look, our police officers, they have to go out, protect our communities, and make sure we're safe. We want safe communities. We want safe schools. And after they go out and run down those bad guys and bad girls, they have to go back to this old building that is green. It's old. It's caving, and things are happening, and things are growing out of the ceiling. And we're asking them to write a report about someone they just arrested. So they're wiping this sweat from them, and they're worried about whether or not the shingles are going to fall. They're going to make it to their home tonight to see their family. They need a new police station, folks. So I'm here tonight to ask this council to support the initiative that the council has put out, that the county executive has put out on behalf of Wilkins Police Station. We need a new station. Finally, folks, I'm a registered Republican. I don't like taxes like no one else. Nobody likes taxes. Hell, we don't want to pay them. But we have to pay taxes in order to be successful in our communities. If we don't pay those taxes, you know what the alternatives may be. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And happy birthday. He did take his birthday night to speak, so happy birthday, Otis. All right, our next speaker is Mark Baskerville, followed by Julie Henn. Good evening.
Hi. I'm Mark Baskerville. I'm a volunteer with the Baltimore County Campaign for Liberty. We are in opposition to the tax increases. I figure I might as well give a little brief history lesson on some factors that got us to this point. In 2007, former Councilwoman Vicki Almond voiced her concerns that there's perhaps a misconception in the county that it's in great financial shape. Shortly thereafter, she, along with Councilman Quirk, Jones, and Bevins, voted for a $43 million bailout to a single private developer, Towson Row. End of last year, just a week before Christmas, the entire council, despite there already being reports about the county's poor fiscal situation, decided to vote for a $78 million subsidy to another single private developer, Trade Point Atlantic. So regarding the income tax, I wanted to point out, we talk about like, oh no, the tax hasn't been raised in so long. But keep in mind, our income tax rate, our local income tax rate in Baltimore County is one of the highest local income tax rates in the entire country. Most states don't have local income taxes, and of those who do, we are one of the most oppressive income tax rates, which we've had this whole time. We complain about not raising one of the most oppressive income tax rates in decades. That's a good thing. We should be trying to avoid being one of the most oppressive local income tax jurisdictions. And also, just regarding the constant yield property tax rate, So if that is not, just a modest cut is not made to that to respect constant yield, that's another $15.5 million that's going to be extracted off the backs of property owners, including senior citizens on a fixed income. So please respect the constant yield property tax rate. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Julie Henn, followed by Jeff Supik. Followed by Shirley Supik.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk, council members. I'm Julie Henn, and I'm Vice Chair of the Baltimore County Board of Education. James W. Frick once said, "Don't tell me where your priorities are. Show me where you spend your money, and I'll tell you what they are." Clearly, this budget reflects the county's prioritization of our children's educations, and for that, I am thankful. While students and teachers should unequivocally have every resource they need for success, I question whether the current budget reflects a balanced use of funds given so many unmet needs in our system. BCPS spent $455 million on technology vendor contracts between FY11 and FY18. Per year spending on technology has more than doubled in that time, from $34 million per year to $69 million. Since joining the board, I have urged more responsible investment in and use of technology, calling for affordable and reliable devices and limiting screen time, especially for the earliest grades. Our children need teachers, not more and more expensive tech. While the changes to Chromebooks and student device ratios are steps in the right direction, they are baby steps, and our needs require leaps. While it's fantastic to finally see plans for a new Lansdowne High moving forward, the project offers little consolation to the school communities left behind. Many schools in the northeast and central areas, including Perry Hall Middle and Towson High, remain severely overcrowded, with no plans for relief in the imminent future. As you consider this budget, please also consider the opportunity cost of continued overspending on technology to the detriment of our severe and significant school facility needs. We need you to think creatively and to use your authority to drive real and balanced solutions to our school funding needs. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next speaker, Shirley Supik, followed by Leslie Weber.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you for allowing me these few minutes. As a community leader, I attended 3 out of the 7 town hall meetings in order to see how the information on the financial state of Baltimore County would be received by each district. The last CE has left this county in deplorable financial woes with an $81 million shortfall after June, and it is now up to the new CE to not only bring us back to a stable financial footing, but to do it by holding on to our AAA bonding, a seemingly impossible task. With this new budget, we will be on the road to mending our financial troubles with the least amount of strain on the taxpayer and the highest yield on the things that we need. Our new county executive is trying to give us all that he can by cutting out all the waste and for the first time in well over 20 years raise our taxes to meet our needs. No one wants our taxes raised, myself included. But if we want everything we feel we are entitled to and need, it is time to raise our taxes. And if this council does not vote to pass this budget, it will not be the new county executive we should blame for what we don't have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Leslie Weber, followed by Anibon Basu.
Good evening, council members. I'm Leslie Weber, Secretary of the PTA Council of Baltimore County, which supports over 150 PTAs throughout our county. We're pleased that this proposed budget addresses many of the issues for which we've advocated over the years. We applaud increased pay for teachers and hiring new teachers, social workers, psychologists, and guidance counselors to address our county's increasing and changing enrollment. The county executive's decision to revisit the use of technology in our schools is wise. Staff's opportunity costs are high and its operating costs aren't sustainable considering the system's many pressing and competing needs. As for efficacy, Johns Hopkins evaluators have reported that devices' measurable impact on student achievement is indeterminate. Elementary level math and reading proficiencies are low, despite the use of expensive online programs, Dreambox and iReady. Another costly program, Middlebury Interactive Languages, has not proven to be effective in teaching students Spanish. In fact, Middlebury College cut ties to MIL in 2017 after faculty took a no-confidence vote in the program. Moving to Chromebooks will save a great deal of taxpayer dollars, as will reducing the student-to-device ratio in elementary grades to a more developmentally appropriate ratio, which reduces the dangers of screen time for our youngest learners. PTA Council is for the balanced, safe, age-appropriate, and cost-effective use of technology in our schools. Let's focus on what we know works: small classrooms with great teachers. We're happy to see increases in the number of schools offering free breakfast, since we've advocated for improved access to meals, including through the federal community eligibility provision. Regarding infrastructure, our membership unanimously supported the Build to Learn Act and imposing developer impact fees, knowing our county has missed out on millions of school construction dollars over the years. We support a 10-year school construction plan and funding for remaining schools for our future projects. Aging infrastructure, overcrowding, and lack of air conditioning must continue to be addressed so BCPS students and teachers have the modern and safe schools they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anirban Basu, followed by Frank Harrington.
Good evening. Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Anirban Basu, economist. Our company's name is Sage Policy Group Incorporated. Just to speak about the need to think through these proposed increases in taxes and fees. You might have noticed the last census indicated that our county actually lost 172 people on net between July 1st of 2017 and July 1st of 2018. Remarkable, because we surround a jurisdiction that lost thousands of people, and yet more people moved out of this county than moved in during that one-year period. And I think one of the things we have to ask is, what's wrong with our value proposition? And it is not the case that by raising a whole slew of taxes that you improve that value proposition. What is needed is a diagnosis. Why did these people leave in such large numbers? Who are they? What drove them away? Now, there is, from a demographic perspective, a savior for Baltimore County, and that's the young family. The most common age in America this year is 27. You've all noticed, of course, along with everybody else, how many young professionals have moved into the city in recent years. That's helped stabilize their population, but it has not offset, of course, the continued loss of families. That generation is coming of age. Yes, they have student debt, so on and so forth, but increasingly they're going to become homeowners. They're going to move into the county and so on and so forth. But the question is, which county? Because if our county destroys its value proposition, that tax base does not get here. I also want to point out, with respect to the impact fees, construction is a source of very high-quality jobs, often for people who lack a college education. That's not a sector I don't think that we want to assault now or ever. And as a final point, one of the ways to finance infrastructure, and our company, among other things, conducted a study recently on high school capacity, and we recommended, in fact, the need for new high schools, a number of new high schools at Lansdowne, et cetera, Towson, so on and so forth. We understand the need for revenues, but Baltimore City has gone down this path. They've gone down this trajectory of raising taxes and fees. They have fewer resources now to invest in schools, not more. And that's my 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Frank Harrington, followed by Ann Royer. Frank Harrington, followed by Ann Royer. Is Frank here? All right, Ann Royer, followed by Bob Royer.
Hello, Councilman, Councilwoman, Chairman. My name is Ann Royer, and I'd like to thank Mr. Koch for being my representative. I live in northern Baltimore County, and I really appreciate the work you've done in representing us. I've lived in Baltimore County for 40 years. I appreciate all the teachers. I've raised 4 children in Baltimore County, and I understand the work that they have done in teaching our children. And sitting behind them, I've seen the wave of red as they stand for each speaker that supported the budget. But I'd like to give the opportunity for the residents who are here to stand to show our councilman who's here, who's not in favor of the budget. If you'd like to stand, go ahead. I might be embarrassed, there might be only 10 people, but we are here representing the 800,000 people that are not here. I, for one, was not aware of this meeting tonight. I only found out by word of mouth. Many of my neighbors are not aware of this meeting tonight. I think many more residents would be here if it was more publicized that you're holding this meeting tonight. That's one item. Second item I like to say is that I've been a nurse for 40 years. I understand what it means to live within your means and hold a budget. I know the county budget is not the same as the House budget, but having raised 4 children in Baltimore County, I have worked 3 jobs for several years to make our home budget meet its end. So I'm not proposing that we all find 3 or 4 jobs, but I am proposing that we try to live within our means and stay within our budget. I understand it takes money to run the government, but at the same time, I'm going to take some of my husband's time. Because he has less to say.
I would ask you to conclude your remarks, and then your husband can.
Okay. All I want to say is let's look at the population. We have 800,000 people. How many of those people are living on a fixed income? And look to your future. How many of those people will still be around? How many people will move out of the county? We make a proposal for all these buildings and stuff and pay raises, but you need to look into the future and project what your budget and what your population will be in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, her husband, Bob Royer, followed by Dr. Carol Newell. There are some seats in the front if anybody in the back wants to come sit down.
So all I can say is what she said.
The smart husband.
What I got her going, I just told her a couple days ago about this meeting because I saw it on one of our community letters. And what got me going is that I was doing the math and what it would take to pay the extra taxes. And bottom line for us is about $700 more a month to put away, to put it with our mortgage. And then even though we'll get it back, part of it, we're not going to get it all back. So I've got to think about what I got to give up to meet that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Dr. Carol Newell, followed by Lois Jacobs.
Good evening. I speak for the Baltimore County Commission on Environmental Quality, whose members are appointed both by the County Council and by the County Executive. Please fund the new position of Chief Sustainability Officer, together with the $500,000 in climate resiliency money. We must immediately address climate change to urgently protect our county's residents from the disruptions that are already beginning, the ecological disruptions to our public health, our water, food, energy, and security. My name is Dr. Carol Newell. I'm a physician and epidemiologist. Esteemed members of the Commission on Environmental Quality helped write this presentation, including Professor Andy Miller, who is the next chair of the U.S. EPA's Chesapeake Bay Program Scientific and Technical Advisory Committee. So some good brains have worked on this. The consequences of the changing climate have already begun. Coordinated, effective procedures must be put into place to anticipate, prevent, and mitigate damage, addressing extreme weather, including heavy rains, as we saw last year, and droughts, sea level rise and increasing days of high temperature, and ultimately the ecological disruption of the systems that support the health and safety of our community. The new Chief Sustainability Officer will be the key person to coordinate and prioritize the efforts of all the departments, a responsibility that no single department head can carry out, as the efforts cross all departments. The county must establish a new cabinet-level leadership position in the face of these oncoming crises. Please fund the proposed sustainability and climate items. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lois Jacobs, followed by Louis Sapolsky.
Good evening. I'm Lois Jacobs. I am the chair of the Commission on Environmental Quality for the County Council. In vein of what Carol said, I would just like to make an analogy, a real life one that happened to us. We had a tree that was about to come down, and we had an arborist come in, and he made the following observation. He said, when something is inevitable, you have two choices. Either you can take this tree down now on your terms, or you can let nature take its course, let it fall down, and take it down on its terms. You can spend a few $100s now, or many thousands of dollars later, not including the damage if your roof gets taken down or if you have to do structural repairs. So the comparison in making the choices of where to spend money is not tomorrow or 10 years from now. Some of our members on CEQ, including farming members, have said crops were rotting in their fields last year from all of the extra rain and water. So this is very real. It is no hoax, and we hope that you will fund that part of the budget, all of it if you can, but certainly the things that deal with sustainability, climate change, and the funding of the Environmental Protection and Sustainability Department that have to handle all of these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Louis Sapolsky, followed by Beverly Folkoff.
Good evening. Buddy Sapolsky is my name, and I'm here tonight representing the Maryland Citizens Health Initiative. But before that, for 18 years, I was the CEO of the Jewish Community Center of Baltimore. And during that time I served in that capacity, I got pretty cocky in the fact that I thought I knew a lot and had connections that would get me out of anything, until that fateful day when we realized that our daughter, and we should have realized it long before that, was hit with, became a victim of some serious abuse, and we as parents struggled and fumbled in terms of what to do. How do you handle and how do you deal with a situation with a kid who has an opioid crisis? And all of a sudden I realized I wasn't quite as smart as I thought I was. And as we got through making bad decisions, good decisions, spending money wisely, unwisely, we learned a lot. We learned that we were not alone. In fact, if we went around the room today, I'm assured that most of you have had family members who have gone through something similar. Fortunately, my daughter is great. But during the time that we talked and during the time that we got things together, she said to me, Dad, I could go to a funeral every single week, and so could my friends. So today I'm here to support the Opioid Strategy Coordinator. This is a small investment, probably under $100,000, that will save lives and provide people like me and you information to help them save lives. It's going to be a person who connects dots, who coordinates, who collaborates, and serves as a clearinghouse for all the services that are around, and will probably pay for itself very quickly in terms of being able to cultivate grants from donors who are eager to support good programming. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Beverly Folkoff, followed by Amanda DeLeo.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Folkoff. I'm a teacher at Relay Elementary School, and I'm here with a special guest tonight.
Hello, my name is Jacob Johnson. I'm a third grader at Westtown Elementary. Also, my mom is a teacher, at Featherbed Lane Elementary. She works very hard and she even does it at home. Sometimes she works during karate and even baseball. I hope the county council passes this budget so schools can get more money and my mom gets paid for her hard work.
It's a hard act to follow, but I'm a self-contained special education teacher at Relay Elementary School. I have been teaching in this program for the past 5 years and have seen a dramatic shift. When I started, I had 10 students and 4 full-time aides. Now I have 15 students, 4 of whom require full-time constant adult supervision just to ensure their safety, and only 2 full-time aides. This is something that needs to be reversed in this county and something that the county council has the ability to make a change in. By passing the budget that John Yoskessley Jr. has put forward, it's a great first step to making sure that teachers get the money that they deserve, students get the support that they need, and we all have the best schools in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amanda DeLeo, followed by Amy Freeman.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amanda DeLeo, and I live in District 1, Mr. Cork. I come to you tonight as an educational advocate, a parent, a former public school teacher, a citizen of Baltimore County, a proud citizen, and an environmentalist. I hope that you will accept the proposed budget. I am a big supporter of the new positions to be created, specifically the Office of Climate Change. I have also been advocating for collection of developer impact fees and excise taxes since I first learned that Baltimore County was not collecting them. At our town hall meeting on March 6th, a long line of folks stood up and talked about infrastructural issues in our area, from roads to stormwater management to school overcrowding. All over the county, schools are overcrowded, schools are at or over capacity, and they're in terrible condition. We need the money from the impact fees, and we need it to be flexible so that we can use it where we need it. I also came here tonight to say that I'm also in full support of the income tax increase. I understand it's not always a popular thing to do, but I embrace this increase. We need to fund our schools. We need to fund the services that we want in the county. A progressive income tax is a far fairer way to do this than any other that I can think of. I know everybody's not happy about paying more for taxes, but everyone benefits from an educated citizenry. Another point that I want to make is I fully appreciate the dialing back in this budget on the STAT programs in BCPS to more developmentally appropriate levels. Every child in 1st and 2nd grade does not need their own device. I do not want my 2nd grader spending a large amount of time on a device for reasons I don't have time to talk about right now. I would support a further reduction of the device budget. I appreciate the budget funds for skilled adults in our buildings. As any educator will tell you, the key to education is building good relationships and having skilled adults in the room. We need more adults, not more laptops. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Amy Freeman, followed by Corey Johns. Amy Freeman, followed by Corey Johns.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Amy Freeman, and I have been an education advocate for well over a decade. I'm here tonight to voice my support for the county executive's proposed budget, which includes record funding for education, the raises for educators, adding teachers, school counselors, social workers, school psychologists, and increasing the number of schools that provide free breakfast are all desperately needed. I applaud the county executive for going above and beyond and beginning to address the true education needs of our county. I am also very supportive of the long overdue cut in STAT funding. Since the beginning of STAT, money has been taken away from individual school budgets to help fund the initiative, and there have been no substantial benefits to students. It's been a costly experiment at the students', schools, and taxpayers' expense that should have been reined in years ago. I am also supportive of the proposed revenue increases, recognizing that there is a need for increased funding for education, but also with the caveat that the county council must work with the county executive to increase transparency and accountability in how those dollars are spent. And BCPS must do more to make sure that their budgetary requests are meeting the true needs of BCPS schools, students, and educators. A comprehensive needs assessment should be done for each school, and those data need to drive BCPS's budget request. This is not what has been done thus far, and this needs to change moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Corey Johns, followed by Cynthia Boyd.
Good evening. Thank you for the time, and I'll be pretty quick. I'm not going to use the whole 2 minutes, but I just want to say I've looked a lot into these budget proposals and the tax increases, and I'm very supportive of what the county executive has put forward. And I think, honestly, it's a very brave proposal he's put through. Nobody likes tax increases. He understands, and I understand, there will be people that will never forgive a proposed tax increase, but it's time to stop kicking the can down the road. We've done it too long in the county. I love Baltimore County. I want to continue loving Baltimore County. I lived in the same house my whole life for all but 1 month, and I don't want to leave Baltimore County. We have needs that need to be met, education specifically. I personally have relatives and people close to me who graduated from public schools, substandard reading proficiency, math proficiency, and that's inexcusable, but that's what's previously gone on, and this addresses those needs. And I think that I urge your support for the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cynthia Boyd, followed by Linwood Jackson.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Cynthia Boyd, leader of Advocates for Baltimore County Schools. We support the county executive's proposed budget. ABC Schools has been here every year over the past several years about the budget and also has advocated at the state level for the hybrid school board. We are happy to see the county executive strongly supporting our new board and hearing their voices and priorities in his budget in many ways. As longtime advocates, we'd like to suggest one addition and some opportunities to balance. We support increased pay for our greatest resource, our teachers. We're happy to see funding for more classroom, ESOL, and special education teachers, social workers, psychologists, and counselors. We hope the pay increase for adult assistants who work with our most fragile students for $10.10 per hour and no benefits is included in the budget. ABC Schools believes in funding what we know works, small classrooms with great teachers and support staff who've built strong relationships with students. For a number of years, the focus has been on technology over people. Class sizes and the pressure on teachers have increased since so much funding has been diverted to pay for overpriced devices and online curricula. We're happy that less expensive Chromebooks are planned and that the student-to-device ratio in first and second grade will be decreased from 1:1 to 5:1, which is healthier and more age-appropriate. ABC Schools supports the creation of a long-term construction plan. Our teachers and students deserve to work in safe, non-overcapacity, and up-to-date buildings. Regarding possible cuts that might help ensure the pay increases for adult assistants, we believe that a number of budget categories deserve a closer look. First, middle and upper level administrative costs and the travel budget, especially for tech-related offices, are too high. The procurement audit noted that 92% of trips exceeded GCA lodging rates. While not part of the budget process, we can report that the majority of our members support conducting the second phase of the procurement audit. The first phase raised a number of concerning issues, including lack of procurement card transaction oversight, unsubstantiated contracts, and multi-million-dollar curricular spending. We appreciate the transparency with which the county executive has approached the budget and support its strong support for education.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Linwood Jackson, followed by Phoebe Evans Latocha. Phoebe, sorry. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linwood Jackson. I'm going to segue into, first I'm a Vietnam vet, and I worked over 30-some years at Bethlehem Steel, so I'm going to segue in that. I live in Turner Station, and they built one of the state-of-the-art multi-purpose centers there. For the last 4 years, they get flooded. The road get flooded, and Baltimore County has got this act that they know what to do. When they flood, they send the Baltimore County maintenance men out. They put combs out there. They put flares out there, and they leave. And when the water recedes, then we proceed about our lives. But what got me with this budget is that the people that's going to get caught in the middle, the retirees. I retired from Bethlehem Steel after my county councilman came down to our union hall and told us to give back to Bethlehem Steel so Bethlehem Steel will stay there. That sounds real at the particular time. So we went for it, and they left anyhow. But the thing that got me is that after I retired, I lost all my benefits. So that left my wife without anything. Now, I'm going to go back to the segue. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Had not they found I was contaminated with Agent Orange, where they gave me benefits so that I could survive and my wife could survive, I would have been homeless. Can you just fathom that? After I retire, the company walks away. And then yesterday evening, my daughter and I, we had to do some over Key Bridge, and we came on a new road that leads to Trade Point. If any of y'all haven't been on that road, you got to go there. That road is so smooth. It's the smoothest road you ever want to see. Now, how could you give $78 million and we get flooded in Turner Station?
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you for your service as well. And then our next speaker, Phoebe Evans-Latocha, followed by Dee Hodges.
Thank you. So my name is Phoebe Evans-Latocha, and I'm here to speak in favor of Bill 2319, Development Impact Surcharge. I'm also a community advocate and parent of students at Towson High School. I'm well aware of the grim financial situation Baltimore County faces, as well as our need to replace and repair our aging and overcrowded schools, our crumbling roads, and our inadequate water and sewer system. Baltimore County has many fiscal obligations, is short on revenue, and needs the ability to bring in greater revenue to fund these quality of life services for our citizens. Development impact fees and building excise taxes are imposed in 14 counties in Maryland, but not in Baltimore County. We're the only metropolitan county in Maryland not to impose either impact fees or development excise taxes on builders and developers. According to State Department of Legislative Services analysis, if Baltimore County imposes impact fee structures similar to Anne Arundel or PG counties, Baltimore County revenues may increase by $15 to $30 million annually. Even the $7 million per year in this budget to pay for the impact on new residential or commercial development would go a long way toward building the capacity in water, sewer, roads, and public safety facilities and schools that currently is not being borne by the developers. Our taxpayers are subsidizing development that is then starving our ability to maintain our existing public infrastructure. The last time Baltimore County gave serious consideration to the imposition of impact fees was 2005. Intense lobbying by Maryland Home Builders Association and a questionable study by Sage Policy Group economist Ani Bonbasu persuaded our elected officials in Baltimore County not to follow the lead of our neighboring counties in imposing impact fees. A steady stream of developer campaign donations to elected officials and our soft corruption pay-to-play culture of Baltimore County created an atmosphere of distrust that I'm hopeful is now being reformed here. Residents of Towson have seen sweetheart deals for tax players given to developers, the $43 million for Towson Row, the discounted price for the controversial Towson Gateway. Yet we were told there's no money for schools to rebuild Delaney High School, no money to relieve overcrowding at Towson High, no money to fix our roads, no money that we need for these quality of life issues. It's time for Baltimore County to require developers to pay for their impact on public services. I'm not anti-development. I'm even willing to see my own taxes go up to pay for these vital services. But if Baltimore County is going to ask its citizens to pay higher fees and taxes, the burden needs to be shared with developers paying impact fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Dee Hodges, followed by Jake Lestock.
Hi. I'm a volunteer with the Maryland Taxpayers Association. I live in Baltimore County, and obviously I am not in favor of raising taxes. With the new property assessments, that will mean $100 million in more taxes. The answer is more efficient government, not bigger government. Even without the, the budgets get bigger and bigger every year, and it's easy for government to raise the money because it can just say, I'm going to get taxes. But Maryland is always in the worst 10 as far as the highest tax states in the country. We have been anti-business for decades. I grew up here, but I'm tired of companies moving out, our businesses closing, because they can't make it in this atmosphere. When they struggle to make profits, or their goods aren't creative enough that people want to buy, they lay off people. Government employees never get laid off, and they have very rich pensions, which private sector people don't usually have. It's time to look at what we're doing and start maybe with zero-based budgeting. I was a teacher once, and I believe that new skills are needed and everything, but rather than hire new teachers, why not just move some of the administrators back to the classroom? In the private sectors, they don't get COLAs every year, but in government, they get COLAs every year. So I just want to point some of these things out, but I would like to say one other thing. Discipline in the public schools has to start in the beginning. I heard a horrible story this morning about a little boy, 6 years old, being pushed out of a moving school bus. He landed on his head in traffic, had multiple fractures of his head. The county is being sued. It was because the older kids in the elementary school pushed him out that window. Discipline has to start immediately, or the classes fall apart.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Jake Lestock, followed by Herbert Lauder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. My name is Jake Lestock, and I'm here on behalf of CTIA. We are the trade association that represents the wireless communications industry. And I'm here today in opposition specifically to Bill number 20-19, which would drastically increase the taxes paid by all Baltimore County wireless consumers and would unfairly lay the burden on low-income residents. So today, Baltimore County does not rank anywhere near the top in terms of high-tax wireless jurisdictions, but if the council were to move ahead with this proposal, Baltimore County would have the third highest wireless tax in the United States, following only Chicago and Baltimore City, and ahead of New York City. And this tax rate would be nearly 35%. While $350 might not sound like much for a family of four with 4 wireless lines on a family plan, this would result of $168 per year in new taxes. This is double the current amount paid, going from around $166 to $332 a year. This proposed tax is estimated to raise $29.5 million, meaning a new tax on over 700,000 individual and business cell phone lines in Baltimore County. While this proposal is said to offset a decline in revenues from landline services due to residents cutting the cord and moving from landline homes to wireless homes, data from the Maryland Association of Counties Budget and Tax Rates survey suggests that the county has only lost about $1 million in landline revenue in the last 6 years. That means this tax increase would bring 30 times more revenue than what the county has lost from this landline tax. Furthermore, this would be one of the most regressive taxes in the country and would hurt low-income families the most. Bill 21-19 proposes a flat tax across the board, meaning that large businesses and more expensive unlimited plans would be taxed the same amount as the cheaper plans that are more popular to low-income individuals. Meanwhile, this wireless service is the sole means of communication and connectivity for many Americans, especially low-income consumers who use it as their sole reliance to access the internet and use this internet in order to find new jobs, look for employment, or do homework. So, in conclusion, while this new proposal is created in order to benefit the residents, it would turn Baltimore County into one of the most taxed wireless jurisdictions in the country. It would double the wireless tax and fee burden on all consumers, wireless consumers, and would unfairly place the burden on low-income families. For these reasons, CTI respectfully requests you oppose Bill number 21-19.
Thank you. Our next speaker, is Herbert Lauder, followed by Lori Taylor Mitchell.
Councilman Quirk, members of the board, and Izzy, my councilman. I may be as old as the police station down in the 1st District. I'll be 86 this summer, and my concern is not mine. I'll gladly pay more taxes. I live on a fixed income, of course, like every retired person, and it's a clergy income, so you know I'm not rolling in cash. But I've got 2 folks in my family, one's 6 and one's 3, and they're all headed to Delaney High School. And there ain't going to be any high school there. It's all falling apart. The schools in this county are desperately in need of repair and fixing, and I need to pay my share to see that they're brought up to snuff. I noticed we moved to the county by coincidence in 1992, and I suspect that there's nobody in the county who drives a 1992 car. I suspect that there is no one in the county that lives on a 1992 income. We have all proceeded from there. We need to take care of the situations that greater revenues and greater opportunities have provided us. I support our kids getting good schools. It's the future of the county. We can't bring people in. I have a daughter that teaches at Howard County School, and the kids that move in there come in there because the schools are better. They have a better operation and more services. We need to decide who we're competing against to bring new people, new resources into our county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Lori Taylor Mitchell, followed by Tom Marston.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Lori Taylor Mitchell, president of the Student Support Network, a nonprofit assisting students in poverty in Baltimore County Public Schools. We wish to express our great appreciation for the proposed funding for additional school counselors, social workers, and school psychologists, although it will take many years to reach adequate numbers of support staff in schools. The absence of funding for additional pupil personnel workers requested by Board of Education member Lisa Mack, representing the 1st District, and approved by the Board of Education, is a major disappointment. But at least the increases are going in the right direction. We are also grateful for the $1 million in funding for additional breakfast programs in high-poverty schools within BCPS, as hungry children can't learn. Even with these increases, dreadful inequities and problems remain in the school system, including the absence of funding for Towson and Delaney high schools, overcrowding, and the continuing lack of funding for food programs in schools needed by students in poverty. This budget is only a small step on the long climb to address our now systemically entrenched poverty among students and their families. We have gone back up to over 50,000 students countywide this year living in severe poverty, 43% of all students. And as of January of this year, over 2,000 were identified as homeless. Over 26,000 children, 15% of the children in the county, suffer from food insecurity. These are the thousands of our children who often don't know where their next meal is coming from, and summer is approaching when hunger and food insecurity are much worse. Baltimore County spends less per capita on health and social services than any other jurisdiction in the state, including Baltimore City. How will you, in your capacities as elected officials, work with the county executive to address these problems this year, next year, and the year after that, and the year after that? What legacy will you pass on to those who come after you? We ask you all to work on these problems with the county executive and county staff. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Tom Marston, followed by Mark Weaver.
Good evening, council members. I am Thomas Marston. I'm the owner of a company called Energy Services Group. We support builders in this county as well as the state to develop innovative and energy-efficient homes. Most of these homes are in the affordable price range. I heard a speaker tonight, Anirban Basu, an economist, very progressive and forward-thinking. One of the impact fees that you will assign is regressive. If a small, affordable home is assigned the same value as a wealthy home, that low-income person is paying a much greater fee for the future services. In my economics class 101, I learned that as you change price, supply and demand will change also. If you raise the price into only new construction homes, most likely the homes of existing will also escalate. That will mean greater burden for all of the residents in Baltimore County. And to speak to the idea of impact fees being assigned to the developer or builder, those fees are passed on to the purchaser of that home. So affordable home buyers, again, are impacted. I heard tonight, very good phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Why would you assign a burden to a single entity and tell them to develop or pay for the development of that child? It does not make sense. I encourage you to consider better alternatives to assign cost more evenly to develop infrastructure, improve education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Weaver, followed by Kristen Nielsen.
Hi there. I'm Mark Weaver. First of all, thanks for having this meeting. I know it's tough to be on the hot seat, and I appreciate y'all doing that. And thanks everybody for showing up. This is not normal, but this is that in a good way. This is democracy at work. Okay, I'm old enough to remember Ronald Reagan and his anti-tax, anti-government philosophy, and I'm hearing echoes of that tonight. And I just want to remind everyone that that has had the effect of bankrupting our federal government and strangling the governments of places like Illinois, Kansas, for a long time, California. I believe it's hampering the growth of Harford County, where they're laying off teachers now. And so I support this budget, and I hope you will too. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kristen Nielsen, followed by Patty Nichols.
I'm proud to be a Crossroads teacher and a Middle River resident, both in the 6th District with Councilwoman Bevins. Please invest in our schools, like Baltimore City, whose residents pay an income tax rate of 3.2%. As we can see from Baltimore City schools, it is not enough, but it is a start. The last time Baltimore County raised income taxes to 2.8%, I was in the 7th grade in Owings Mills. It was 1992. I received a call from a friend who had a gun in his hand ready to commit suicide. I was home alone on the phone with him for almost 2 hours before his mother came home to take him to the hospital. I'm grateful he received the help that he needed. Too many of us don't. I became a teacher to try to help students to access the skills and resources that they need to be well and successful. Years ago, I taught a junior who I knew was not okay. I'm grateful he was in my smallest class and I could recognize that. I referred him to his counselor 3 times, and I was dismissed 3 times. I visited the guidance department chair during my lunch, sobbing to beg her to help him. She finally did. Trauma-informed resources and instruction need to become the norm, not the exception. However, few BCPS secondary educators teach fewer than 150 students, and our support staff are likewise overwhelmed. Thornton was well-intended but underfunded. Maryland has been underfunding education by $2.9 billion annually. Mashevsky's budget is only $32.1 million above maintenance of effort, with 141 extra educators, 35 extra support staff positions, and plans for Lansdowne, including 2% COLA, step increases, extra important for new teachers who don't get a living wage until year 9 with a master's degree. BCPS must keep up or lose our educators to other districts. Our kids and educators can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Patty Nichols, followed by Gabrielle Duval.
Good evening, County Council. I'm Patty Nichols. I'm a resident of the lovely neighborhood of Lock Hill in the 6th District, and I'm a taxpayer, the price of a civilized society. My son and daughter received world-class educations in the Baltimore County Public Schools. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, support staff. Please remember that the education budget is already pared down from what the Board of Education asked for. It's already been cut. Please remember the disappointing outcome from the General Assembly as far as not getting the capital funds, for building. The plans for the increased teachers, for the increased population, and the support staff are, again, just beginnings. They recognize our growing population, and they recognize that there are children who face barriers that they need to surmount in order to benefit from our wonderful education system. So that's just a beginning. Baltimore County is not frozen in amber. It is growing, it is evolving, it is changing, and that we have to have the courage to look at reality and to face the needs that we have, and that the challenges before us, the unpleasantness of looking at increased revenues, is a courageous conversation that we all have to have, and that for our prosperity and future of our county, it's imperative. I urge you to not cut anything from the education budget, and I encourage you to support the full budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gabrielle Duval, followed by Josh Feldmark.
Good evening, Council, and thank you for your time. My name is Gabrielle Duval, and I am with Southern Management Corporation. Southern Management Corporation is not a developer. We are a large owner-operator property manager of over 25,000 apartment homes and 4 hotels, as well as commercial space throughout the Maryland and Virginia area. We employ over 1,600 employees, almost 1,000 of which are in Maryland alone. In Baltimore County, you may know some of our properties like the Palisades of Towson and Awella Mill, as well as our clean, safe, affordable homes in Key Landing, Liberty Place, and Watermill. We invest in those properties to make them the best places to live for Baltimore County residents. Through our 8 Baltimore County communities, we own over 2,600 apartment units, over 34 commercial units, which together contribute almost $4 million in local tax base each year. I'm here today to voice Southern Management Corporation's opposition to Bills 1619 and 2319 and the proposed imposition of the development surcharges, whether they are in the form of impact taxes or fees. These surcharges are simply a short-term liquidity solution that are ultimately long-term harmful to the economic development and revitalization of Baltimore County. Southern Management does not build to sell. We do build, and we build apartment homes and mixed-use communities that people want to live, work, and play in. Before the development surcharges were introduced, we were really excited about our opportunity to expand our brand in Pikesville. We own Pomona Park and Pomona Square, and we also acquired additional land at a high cost next to Pomona Park. Our intention was to develop a mixed-use project with mid to high-rise apartments, retail, office space, townhome and condominium units applicable for first-time home buyers, and a hotel while retaining the existing apartments. Our goal is to build a first-class, amenity-based, live, work, play community in the heart of Pikesville's revitalization district. We would just urge you to consider the fact that this surcharge would cost $8 million before we got off the ground and make our project economically infeasible. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Josh Feldmark, followed by Eric Rockel.
Chairman Quirk, members of the council, my name is Joshua Feldmark. I'm the executive director of Bike Maryland. We represent cyclists across the state, from casual riders to what we call road warriors. I'm here on behalf of the 1,822 members who live in Baltimore County, a number I promise I knew off the top of my head and didn't look up right before I walked in. I'm here in support of the $1 million that the county executive has proposed in the budget for bicycle infrastructure. For what it's worth, I used to be the chief sustainability officer for Howard County for 8 years, and one of the things I learned is in tough times, there's a critical need for what we used to call multiplier money, and that's money that you can use to access additional resources. So this year we passed at the state a near doubling of the Maryland Bikeways program. And that's a grant to counties and municipalities that you can use for bicycle infrastructure. So the $1 million that you can use, but it requires a match. And so the $1 million that you're proposing here, you can use to get a match from the state. And then other jurisdictions like Anne Arundel County, for example, have taken the money that they have used to get from the Bikeways program to go tenfold above that from federal and nonprofit grants. So this is money that you can use to get more money, which is, a good thing. So finally, jurisdictions across the state and across the country have proven that investing in bicycle infrastructure is good for all of us, even if you never get on a bike. The more one of us feels safe and are in fact safe to ride our bikes for transportation, the less cars that are on the road. The less cars that are on the road means less traffic, and it means less wear and tear on your roads, and the less maintenance that is needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Eric Rockel, followed by Andrew Joseph Rossini.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I come here tonight having heard of many needs throughout many constituencies in the county. That's a reality that we can't ignore. But by that same token, I also have enough common sense to realize that the county's not going to be able to rectify all the needs that are here from these constituencies. I'm supportive of some type of increase in some of the taxes, but not of the magnitude that Mr. Olszewski recommends. After all, the Spending Affordability Committee recommended that the general fund budget be increased by 3.94%, yet Mr. Olszewski is recommending a general fund increase of 5.63%. That's quite a difference. So I call upon you to look across all areas of the budget: education, public works, health, all areas, and find ways that we can save. After all, some of these things should be very evident. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that, for example, when the STAT program was implemented, that it was not sensible to have first and second graders having laptops. But yet they expended that money for several years for that cause. Finally, I just caution the council that we're going to be here next year having these same sort of discussions. The state's going to implement the Kirwan Commission recommendations next year, and the county's going to find itself having to increase taxes again for that. So if you can temper this increase, it may make next year's increase more palatable. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Joseph Rossini, followed by Kathleen Causey.
Good evening, council members and fellow residents of Baltimore County. I'm kind of winging this. I didn't realize that when I signed up out front that it was to speak, but I've been so inspired by all the people here that I think that I just can. After being a resident of Baltimore City for 25 years, my wife and I decided to build a home out in Baltimore County, and we've been a resident there 40 years. And it's getting to the point now with all the taxes and all the innovative ways the state and county has of squeezing a buck out of us that we're on the verge of having to sell our home. And my wife, she still has to work, even though she's got some physical ailments. I was put out of work 20 years ago by a careless driver. So I've been on Social Security. She's still working to help sustain our home, which was our dream home. And being born in Maryland, we would have liked to pass in Maryland if we could, as citizens. It looks like we may have to go over the county line and find something over there that's less expensive in a state that won't take so many taxes. My wife's a retired law enforcement officer, federal government employee. She worked for the IRS as a liaison with the FBI. She's a criminal investigator, and she is very good at what she did. Stupid federal government that they are, they don't keep these people on that are so highly trained. They let them go. So she is now in the private sector, and she has physical ailments from that job and the training that she had. And it's to the point where she's not going to be able to work. So we're going to be taxed right out of our home. So all I'm asking you people to do is just tighten your belts up and try to find money where you can find money. There's a lot of wasteful spending, and that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker, Kathleen Causey, followed by Lily Rowe.
Good evening. I'm Kathleen Causey. I'm the chairwoman of the Board of Education of Baltimore County. Thank you to County Council Chair Quirk and all of the County Council members for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the 114,000 beautifully diverse and precious students in Baltimore County Public Schools. Our student enrollment continues to grow as families choose Baltimore County Public Schools. We appreciate County Executive John Olszewski's prioritizing education by investing an additional $32 million over the current fiscal year appropriation in our public schools. We ask the County Council to fully fund the education budget. It preserves the board's recommended funding for our outstanding and dedicated teachers, compensation, including step increases and COLAs, as well as adds school counselors, social workers, psychologists, special education teachers, and ESOL teachers. We also support increasing the number of schools providing free breakfast to students in need. This will ensure that all are equipped to learn. We agree with the prioritization of investing in educators, teachers, support staff, administrators, and bus drivers who transport our children in the first and last classrooms of the day, and all those that touch the lives and education of our students are the most important resource in our school system. The county executive addresses the significant capital spending needs, recognizing the vast needs for renovations and new school construction. We are pleased to see planning move forward for Lansdowne High School, but many others remain waiting, thousands of students without even air conditioning. The board is encouraged by the funding of a 10-year school construction plan to provide a clear and equitable path forward as we prioritize countywide capital spending as dollars become available. During the board's recent community input process, we received close to 5,000 inputs, including online, which included almost 2,000 robust comments. The number one issue was the need for facilities, equitable, safe, and healthy facilities. Other important issues included budget transparency, discipline, staff turnover, special education, equity among ethnic and socioeconomic populations, more effective and less costly technology, and better transportation for our students. This budget supports these community priorities. As the board member representing the 3rd Council District, I'm also asking for additional incremental capital investments that will allow other projects to become shovel-ready for the next cycle of capital funding from the state, including Delaney and Towson High School, among others. Again, we ask the council to fully fund public education. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lily Rowe, followed by Sheila Ruth.
I'm Lily Rowe. I'm the Board of Education member for the 6th Council District. And the first thing I would like to do is thank the council for their support of funding from the state for school construction. Before I was elected to the Board of Education, I had 2 major things that I worked on as an advocate for the school system. One of them was air conditioning in all of the schools to make our classrooms equitable. And the other one was having equitable facilities and having a plan to do that that would prevent communities from tearing each other apart, competing for years on end to decide which community could be louder and more deserving when many communities have equal needs. And I don't think that it is good as a county if we decide our capital projects that are very important to various communities based on the loudest squeaky wheel or who has the most time to advocate. And even though we have many projects that are currently in the list of prioritization, there are many projects like Pleasant Plains Elementary School that is 138% over capacity right now, just got their 8th trailer put on that lot. And I have community members emailing me that they're worried about their property values because the school grounds is becoming cluttered up with trailers. And considering the social emotional learning issues that we have in our school system and needing more people, spreading these children out in trailers does not really help deal with the situations that we have in our classrooms as far as distributing staff, if the staff are also distributed to trailers as well. It's very difficult to have a child go into crisis in a trailer and then have to get a behavior interventionist from the inside the building to come deal with that child in the trailer, or have to visit multiple trailers because this school has over 700 students. So please support the facilities plan. We need this plan, and we need all of you to support the work of the board as we develop this plan to make sure that we're distributing the limited amount of funds equitably according to needs.
Our next speaker is Sheila Ruth, followed by Jillian Pospisil.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk, members of the council. I'm here in full support of the county executive's budget, including the long overdue tax increase and the other fees and taxes. I don't like to pay taxes any more than anyone else, but if we want good schools, roads, public safety, we have to pay for them. My son is an adult, so I don't have a child in the school, but I still support fully funding the schools because the children are the future of our county, and it's really, really important for all of us to have good educated children. The county executive has done an amazing job of addressing the county's needs in light of the current fiscal crisis, including increased money for education, roads, traffic calming, public safety, and much more. I attended almost every meeting of the Commission on Fiscal Sustainability, which are open to the public, and observed as they delved into every aspect of the budget and budget process. I'm convinced that the $20 million in cuts in the county executive's budget is all that can be squeezed out without significantly impacting county services and infrastructure. I know, members of the council, I know that you're hearing many arguments from many different people on different sides. As you consider a path forward, I'd like to leave with you a quote from Edmund Burke from 1774. Your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment, and he betrays you instead of serving you if he sacrifices it to your opinion. We all know what's needed, and so it's time for all of us to come together and do what's right for the county. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jillian Pospisil, followed by Abram Goldstein.
Hi there. I am in support of the budget. My name is Jillian Pospisil, and I am a special education teacher at Hawthorne Elementary in Middle River. I'm here to advocate for the students who rarely get a voice by encouraging the members of the board to pass the county executive budget as proposed. Many of our students are in survival mode on a daily basis due to trauma and cannot access academic content without first being provided social and emotional support and building connections with staff. With 15 additional counselors, 16 more social workers, 4 more school psychologists, and 50 additional special educators, BCPS moves closer to providing the world-class education that all students deserve. This year, my school has a social worker, 2 behavioral interventionists, and 2 school counselors. Unfortunately, this is not always the norm. Teachers are tired and overworked. In schools like ours, the school day takes an even more emotional toll. Teachers are burning out left and right, and these are highly qualified teachers. It is difficult enough to retain teachers of this quality, so not funding our 2% COLA and 2-step raise increase would not be good for morale. Due to interfering behaviors of students in our school building and difficulty managing these behaviors due to student trauma, substitute teachers willing to work in our school are few and far between. Often when substitute teachers are not available, support staff, including instructional assistants and adult supports, are pulled in order to fill these vacancies. These support professionals are often missing crucial instructional time with students with disabilities, which is stated on the student's IEP. Our children, many of whom experience substantial instability at home and/or cognitive and behavioral challenges, are now not receiving the very supports they were given to succeed. Our students deserve more. We have over 600 students in our school, and our student body continues to grow. I sincerely hope that my school and schools in my area with similar challenges continue to receive funding to provide absolutely necessary supports in the areas of mental health and special education. Our children deserve it. Therefore, I'm asking the County Council to fund the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Abram Goldstein, followed by Raj Sharma.
Good evening. My name is Abram Goldstein. I'm a taxpayer from Cockeysville for the past 24 years, and I consider it an honor and privilege to address you all this evening, so thank you. I come here tonight to voice my opposition to the increased taxes in this year's budget. I want to just say that advocates of the increase will probably cite the many years and have cited the many years since the last income tax rate increase, creating a straw man argument in an attempt to make us believe that county tax revenues have not increased in that time period, and that narrative is false. From information on the county website, it looks to me that county tax revenues have risen 18% over the past 9 years, and this year it's about to go way higher because of the tax windfall coming to the state of Maryland and to the county courtesy of the changes in the federal tax code. I can no longer itemize on the federal or state level, and therefore, having typically received no refund but having had to pay no additional taxes, I was in arrears $850 in state and county taxes this year than I paid in 2017. Mr. Olszewski says the average county resident will pay another $180 a year in taxes under the new budget. I also have 4 cell phone lines. You've heard that story before this evening. It's not like a cell phone is a luxury item these days. Add all those increases together, and it looks like I'll be out of my pocket an additional $1,100 per year. I'm trying to figure out where that $1,100 will come from. We're told the increases don't even equate to a couple of cups of coffee a day. Surely everyone can afford another couple of cups of coffee, right? How many cups of coffee do we need to buy a day to fund increases to both state and county taxes? Personally, I make my coffee at home to save money. The Baltimore Sun estimated the windfall to the state to be about $400 million based on what I've seen in my own tax return for state and county. I have no doubt of that number. I have no doubt of that number and believe it to be on the low side. My suggestion is to find ways to decrease spending and find the next Department of Redundancy department that can be eliminated or pared back. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Raj Sharma, followed by Angelica Bailey.
Good evening, Honorable Chairperson, Council, and fellow citizens of Baltimore County. My name is Raj Sharma. I'm resident of Lutherville. I'm a father of twins, 15-year-old. They both go to Delaney School. I want to highlight two issues, not the issues, but the importance of the subject matters. The school system. It's important that we have a good infrastructure, buildings, but at the same time, it's more important that we have a good quality of education. We need to focus on the quality of education and producing a fine professionals of the future. That thing, I think, need to be considered in that term. The other aspect that I have been in the transportation business for about 20 years. Transportation is not a taxi business, but so I can effectively talk about the programs. Not the financial expert, but the programs that county executive have produced forth in terms of the transportation. They are the programs of the yesterday, and they are long overdue. These programs, they are important for the economic stimulation, and they will pay off the dividends. While the taxes raised, they are seen as just a budgetary matter. It's not budget, it's an investment of our future, the future of our children and future of our county residents. So I urge you, I plead you to support the new budget that's been put forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Angelica Bailey, followed by George White.
Good evening, Angelica Bailey, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Maryland Building Industry Association. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard tonight. We are here opposing Council Bill 2319, implementing a development impact surcharge. Making home building more expensive will have a negative effect on the financial health of the county. If building is too expensive, builders don't build, and the county needs housing. Our industry creates jobs and new homes, which means new residents. They shop here, they eat here, they pay property, income, and recordation taxes. Those sources of revenue are continuous and give more bang for the buck than impact or excise fees, which are just paid once. Slowing down building means lost revenue for the county. Or if building is too expensive, the cost of building new homes gets passed on to the home buyers. This bill becomes a tax on buyers, not a tax on developers, which hurts families at all economic levels. Baltimore County is unique. It's mature and largely built out already. Most building development opportunities are infill and multifamily and townhomes, which are utilized primarily by young folks, new families, and lower income populations. There is not enough workforce housing in Baltimore County as it is. Increasing the cost of building means we can't afford to build affordable units. We have to build higher end homes to stay in the black. Or we have to pass the costs on to the buyer, which makes the dream of home ownership just too expensive. Baltimore County should be focusing on strengthening the tax base at all income levels, not driving it away. We understand the administration's position and care about the financial health of the county, but this is a big decision with wide-reaching consequences. We should take our time to understand the impact and get it right. Unfortunately, we must oppose this legislation at this point, but our industry hopes to continue to work with the administration and the council on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is George White, followed by Lori Graff.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairperson, councilmen, councilwoman. My name is George White. I live in Pikesville, and Councilman Bacoka is my councilperson. Also, where I worship in Lockhearn, Councilman Julian Jones. And my District 44B that covers all three, including Councilman Tom Quirk, Julian Jones, and and my councilman Patoka. Again, my name is, I'm a member of the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee as associate member. I'm here today to fully support the budget. Also, heavy on my heart is education. My wife and I both are retired instructors, teachers. We all dislike any tax increase, but a tax increase that would greatly benefit the entire community, I am in total agreement. Do you remember the words to the song, I believe that children are our future, teach them well and let them lead the way? As you can tell, I'm not a singer, but that's how it goes. My concern is, how can our kids be taught well with overcrowded classes, 30, sometimes 40 students? All of these concerns on one teacher and one classroom. Add to this teachers using out-of-pocket money to prep their class and obtain various supplies and materials. All of this in endless days throughout the school year. Teachers burnt out, students' needs unmet, makes for an explosion, which we see from time to time. However, I was taught, as most of us were, never come to the table with a problem or concerns without having a few suggestions or options. We can look at, which I have just a few. Based on time, I'll cut them down to 2. Increase teachers' salary so that they will not need to moonlight to make ends meet to support their families. Increase teachers' salary to get better job for sub coverage. All of the options that I mentioned above will cost money that the county may not have. This is why I'm in favor of the proposed tax increase for education for fiscal year 2020. Thank you for your time and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Lori Graff, followed by Lawrence Andrews.
Good evening, members of the council. Nice to be here this evening. My name is Lori Graff. I'm CEO of the Maryland Building Industry Association. I'm going to keep this brief. My colleague Angelica took most of our points and addressed them. I do want to just address that we understand the county's position. We believe that we can be part of the solution. We bring economic development to this county, and we believe that we need to make sure this is a long-term solution and not just a short-term fix to the budget. So we would like to work with the county and try to figure out better ways that we can try to bring better revenue into the county to make Baltimore County better for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Lawrence Andrews, followed by Jacob Johnson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity. I relocated my family from Staten Island, New York in 1998 to Moncton. And, I promise, first of all, I'm not a Yankee fan. More importantly, I can tell you what happens to a community that gets overcrowded. I watched Staten Island, where my parents, raised me, and my mother was born in Staten Island, so was her mother. Quality of life went down dramatically while I was living there, and it was really fortuitous, and we've loved every minute of living in Baltimore County. I went to the first town hall in March. I've never been involved in politics in any way, shape, or form, never been interested. I went there and I stayed silent because my father used to say the empty barrel makes the most noise when it rolls down the hill. I didn't have any facts with which to speak. However, after that, I spoke to my councilman, Mr. Catch, and I asked him about these speed cameras, and I asked him if they were lucrative. And many of you probably know we had a tragedy in Cockeysville, and there were people speeding all the time, but there was a particular tragedy in Cockeysville several months back. Didn't affect me personally, but I see people speeding all the time. And, we've got this budget gap, and we've got the ability to put speed cameras out and collect revenue. Now, I recognize that speed cameras aren't going to solve $81 million worth of shortfall, but it's a piece of it. It's a piece of it. And we've got this problem with people speeding. I mean, I have a tendency myself to speed. I use cruise control on local roads because I know it's a shortcoming that I have. So that's enough out of me. Have a good night.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Jacob Johnson, followed by Marcia McLaughlin. Is Jacob here? Marcia? Marcia, then Alex Montanio.
My condolences to the council. Not only do you have to sit here all night and listen to us, but you have to deal with the voting on how you're going to handle all this. My name is Marcia McLaughlin. I'm a 35-year resident of Lutherville. I retired recently after 27 years in Howard County, where I had a leadership role in planning and development management. 25 years ago, in 1992, actually 27 years ago in 1992, Howard County passed adequate public facilities legislation and surcharges. So I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about the surcharges component of this. Clearly, there are a lot of people unhappy. No one wants to see taxes raised, but I think if you can spread the pain, it helps a lot. And what I've included, I gave the council staff a complete version of this. I didn't want to weigh you down, but what you have is a short version. And it basically, it talks about who has either excise taxes or impact fees. Looking at other counties in Maryland, of the 23 counties, all but 7, including Baltimore County, have either impact fees or excise taxes. And it goes through and explains which jurisdictions have either of those 2 fees. It talks a little bit about the difference between impact fees and excise taxes. Essentially, excise taxes give you more flexibility about where the money can be spent. And then there's a chart that talks about all of the jurisdictions that have these fees, what they use it for, and how much money they raise. So you can see how many, most of them have fees that go for education, quite a few for transportation, some public safety, recreation, or other. But you can see there's a lot of money raised. And when you look at Baltimore County and the other jurisdictions that don't have these kinds of fees, they're all much smaller rural jurisdictions. If you look at central Maryland jurisdictions, they're raising a lot of money. And if you're looking at Howard County having been raising the kinds of fees that show on the last page, which is an example of how all the jurisdictions' fees are included, it gives you an idea. It's not that Howard County is a perfect solution, but if you look at how others are charging fees, you can find something that seems like the right amount. I worked with a lot of developers in Howard County. They are used to paying these fees, and they're coming to Howard County because we invest in the services that people want. If Baltimore County does not invest in these services, the developers will go elsewhere, and it won't be because of the fees. It's because people don't want to be in this market.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Alex Montanio, followed by Stephen Ferrandi.
Good evening, and thank you for your patience tonight. My name is Alex Montanio, and I'm a resident of Dundalk. I'm the president of the board of the Dundalk Renaissance, and I'm also a member of the board of the Community College of Baltimore County's Dundalk Foundation. People sometimes ask why I choose to live in Dundalk, and I realize that when someone poses that question, it's often because they've heard of the challenges we face, not the many positives. Dundalk has a lot going for it. Friendly people, beautiful parks and waterfront, exciting new business development, and a strong sense of history. But it's not that I'm blind to the fact that we have some challenges. It's that I choose to see them as opportunities. However, an opportunity is just a set of circumstances that make it possible to do something, not a guarantee that good things will come. Without the bold investments in this budget, we won't be able to capitalize on a lot of the opportunity that we have to be the kind of place residents can comfortably raise families and proudly call home. I want Dundalk, and really the whole county, to be a place where our teachers are fairly compensated, our neighborhoods are walkable, our roads are easily navigable, and our first responders are well equipped. I want this county to be a place that tackles the hard questions raised by climate change and the opioid crisis with innovation and compassion. I want us to be a place that doubles down on the best assets we have, like the community college, that gives so many people across all stages of life the chance to gain the skills they'll need to be the leaders we want across every sector. We have the opportunity to be that kind of place. But to make that vision a reality, we need to invest in our best assets, our teachers, our students, our first responders, our innovators. We need to invest in ourselves. This budget does just that. So I'm here tonight to ask you all to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Stephen Ferrande, followed by Aaron Greenfield. Okay, Aaron Greenfield, followed by Carl Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and to echo what Ms. McLaughlin said, who I had the pleasure of working with and is a true public servant and is a wealth of information. You were fortunate to hear from her. Thank you for taking the time tonight and listening. I'm here on behalf of the Maryland Multifamily Housing Association, and we represent our members own or manage about 74,000 units in 245 apartment communities here in Baltimore County. We've heard, we recognize the challenges that are facing this county, and we too want to be part of the solution. I'm here to speak specifically on Bill number 2319, the development impact fee legislation, and I too echo the sentiment of Mr. Marsden and Ms. Duval, who were before me. I will not repeat their points. I've distributed my testimony, which outlines specifically our concerns over the rates, and to extrapolate that out, again, I know time is of the essence here. Our concerns range from the rate structure, the disincentive to invest, and frankly, how these fees will likely be passed on to renters who can frankly least afford it. I will say at the same time, we had a very productive meeting with the administration, and they were incredibly engaging. Councilman Marks, thank you for your response as well. And I really do look forward to the work session that's before you, as well as continuing to work with the administration on reasonable and constructive amendments to solve the problem, the fiscal problems you have, as well as trying to address the issues that we have as a result. And for those reasons, thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Your next speaker, Carl Jackson, followed by Tony Ristanio.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the council. My name is Carl Jackson. I'm testifying in support of the county executive's proposed 2 new police athletic league centers, also known as PAL centers, in his FY 2020 budget. PAL centers mean a great deal to me. Throughout my childhood, the PAL Center was a place for recreational activities, provided opportunities for mentorship by police officers and teachers and community volunteers, and serve as a location for educational enrichment classes. Girls and boys learned a variety of sports, team building exercises, and interpersonal skills in after-school and summer programs. The community valued the PAL Center because it offered a safe space for youth after school, on the weekends, and through the summer session. I know the county's budget challenges are significant, yet we cannot relinquish our determination to serve our children's well-being. Funding the PAL centers accompanies our goal of ensuring that our youngest Baltimore County residents have the opportunity that they seek for a hopeful and successful future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony Ristano, followed by Jack Greenberg.
Mr. Chairman, Councilman, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Tony Ristano. I'm a Towson businessman, father, grandfather. I've lived in the county for well over 30 years. I'm here in opposition to any tax increase and any and all fee increases. And to put this in context, the budget shortfall is $81 million on a budget of 3.2 or 3.4 billion. That represents about 2.5%. So 2.5% is the shortfall. I remember, and I think if the people in the room think back to 2007, 2008, 2009, during the recession, there are many people in this room who had to cut their personal budgets by a lot more than 2.5%. So I would suggest that you take a look at things and find the 2.5% and cut it, not increase taxes. Secondly, the long-term impact on the county of raising taxes, I'll ask people to think back. My kids used to play a game called Sim City. And anybody who played Sim City knows that as you raise taxes in that city, people left the city to the point where it collapsed. That's what you're seeing in Baltimore City right now. Taxes have been raised astronomically. People are leaving. So you're going to see more of that here if you continue to raise taxes. I will not reiterate the other points that Mr. Suarez, Mr. Baskerville, and some others raised, but I would hope that you would remember what they said. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Jack Greenberg, followed by Rabbi Moshe Hauer.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Council, my name is Jack Greenberg. I'm a Baltimore County resident and president of the Suburban Club, a nonprofit corporation within the county. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak on Bill 2319 that proposes the imposition of development impact fees or surcharges. The bill would impose such fees on both residential and non-residential projects. The bill, if passed without amendments, could significantly impact any proposed projects on the Suburban Club property. On April 11th, 2019, the county presented to the public the Pikesville commercial study. This document said the following about the Suburban Club. The Suburban Club encompasses approximately 137 acres of land in Pikesville. As it stands, the Suburban Club is focused on being a club, but does recognize that golf courses around the country are in decline. The property has large amounts of frontage on 4 major thoroughfares: Reisterstown Road, Slade Avenue, East Sudbrook Lane, and Park Heights Avenue. If redevelopment is considered, the site could support a variety of residential, commercial, and civic uses, i.e. mixed use. Suburban understands and supports the county executive's budget and would also like to thank Councilman Patoka for being responsive to us in this process. As the county study released less than 3 weeks ago, we have not had time to investigate the potential changes to and impact on our property. We therefore request the council consider delaying the passage of the bill. If it does not pass, we ask that it should include delay of implementation until July 2020. This would give us time to consider the county study and make decisions about the future of our property. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Rabbi Moshe Hauer here? Okay. Mel Mintz, then followed by Robert Schott. Former councilman Mel Mintz.
Good to see you all. Mr. Chairman and council members, good evening. I know those seats. Don't be afraid to use it. My name is Mel Mintz. I'm currently chairman of the board of the Thousand Friends of Pikesville, now 1,417 members. The leadership of the Thousand Friends started an effort to create a new revitalization plan for Pikesville. Though there have been fits and starts in this, we congratulate County Executive Olszewski and Councilman Patoka for reigniting this process. We also congratulate County Executive for his bold, creative thinking he issued in his budget message concerning establishing an arts and entertainment districts. We didn't coordinate with anybody who had come before us who supported this position that's spontaneous. One element in our over 100-page report of our findings and proposal is the reuse of the Pikesville National Guard Armory. The property's availability is too good an opportunity to overlook, as it can be the catalyst for transforming our challenged commercial corridor into a gem, a magnet that will attract visitors from all over the region to browse, dine, and shop in Pikesville, sustaining its viability for a very long time. We come here tonight to encourage fulfilling the predicate in the county executive's budget message concerning arts and entertainment districts and his previous statements on this armory becoming an arts and cultural campus. There have been many experts who have supported this concept of turning that property into a venue of artist galleries and artist studios accompanied by shops and restaurants and cafes and ice cream parlors and a fun convivial gathering place for the entire community. This will serve as a contagion for the entire development of Pikesville. As a matter of fact, in 2015, as has been pointed out, a Towson University study found that of the 24 other current arts and entertainment districts, each on average produce an annual increase in the GDP of $24 million and $1.5 million a year in increased tax revenues. This is a moneymaker. We have a financing mechanism to accomplish it. Again, congratulations to County Executive Olszewski for this bold move. We encourage you to find the funds, particularly in the capital dollars, to make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, Robert Schott, followed by Colleen Carr.
Council members, my name is Bob Schott, and looking over these two tax bills that I'm concerned about, one being the increase in the income tax. The fact that you're on a budget that starts in January, we pay our income taxes based on the calendar year in most cases. The money that I've socked away in my deferred accounts, and now it's coming due, I'm paying the taxes on it. It looks like it's 0.34. Am I correct? Would be the increase from 280 something to 320.
283 to 3.2.
Yeah. Okay. So it's about conceivably for this year would 0.17. Take care of the half year part of it is what I'm looking at. The other part, senior moment. Anyhow, I know that the 2% wage increase. Realizing the board has its own method, I think it's kind of unfair. Let's put it this way: we have somebody that earns $50,000, we give them 2%. That's $1,000. Somebody earns $100,000, we're going to give them 2%. That's $2,000. In reality, we spread the space between the two by $1,000 if we go with that. I think it's more equitable if we take the two people and divide the $3,000, which would be the increase, and give each one of them $1,500. Then the next year, the space is still $50,000. One's at $50,150, or yeah, at $50,150. The other is $101,050, and there's still the $50 there. The last thing just came back to me involves the telephone tax. I've been involved in the volunteer fire service for over 55 years at this point, and one of the incentives for me to get a cell phone was the phone company. The carrier at that point gave us a discount being in the fire service, and at this point that $350 for my 3 lines will wipe out the discount. So if there's a possibility of altering that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker, Colleen Carr, followed by Steve Smith.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk and council members. My name is Colleen Carr, and I live in Loch Raven Village. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words in support of the county executive's budget as proposed. If you had told me a year ago or even 6 months ago that I'd be here doing this, I would have laughed at you. But the needs at Pleasant Plains Elementary School, where my 7-year-old son Zachary is a first grader, and where my 5-year-old son Lucas will be a kindergartner this fall, are so great that I had to get involved. Pleasant Plains is like many schools across the county.
We are overcrowded and literally running out of room for more relocatable classrooms on our school grounds. While these relocatables do give more classroom space, they don't give additional core space. Pleasant Plains is a Title I school that provides free breakfast to all children. So some students are being offered lunch just a short time after they've eaten breakfast. Others must go until nearly 1:30 before they can eat lunch due to cafeteria capacity. Relocatables do not have bathrooms, so students must trek back to the main building to use the bathroom, and so this extra classroom space doesn't alleviate the stress on the facilities in the school building. In his budget message, the county executive said investments in our kids are investments in our future, and I couldn't agree more. Strong schools mean people will want to move here, stay here, and raise their families here. But like just about everything in life, a great public education has a price tag. The county executive noted that investing in the future requires hard choices, and I can relate. Our budget, like that of many families, is tight. I'm a preschool teacher. My husband is an assistant to 4 financial advisors, and we have 3 young boys who keep growing and wanting to eat. I appreciate the efforts made by Mr. Oshevsky and his team to reduce unnecessary spending. Generally speaking, I think most people would agree with me that they don't like to pay more for goods and services, but sometimes, like now, it's worth the cost. We've heard about the need for new high schools, but there are many other schools who have significant needs as well. Pleasant Plains is the 4th most overcrowded elementary school in BCPS, and yet, to my knowledge, we are not on any list for a permanent solution. Our kids all over the county need a plan that thoughtfully addresses the needs in their school buildings. They're counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Steve Smith, followed by Ruben Amaya.
Good evening. My name is Steve Smith. I'm a 3rd District resident affiliated with Gaylord Brooks Realty. I'm also a board member of the Maryland Building Industry Association. There are currently 2 impact fee bills before you, 1619 and 2319. They both deserve thoughtful analysis. Each has merits as well as deficiencies. As Mr. Dorsey indicated, these bills will not have a meaningful impact on this year's budget. We therefore ask that you table these bills for a short time so that they can be properly reviewed and evaluated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Ruben Amaya, followed by Howard Needle. Is Ruben here? All right, our next speaker, Howard Needle, followed by Douglas Stanley.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, I'm Howard Needle. I'm president of 1,000 Friends of Pikesville. I'm a constituent of Izzy Patoka. We're in good hands with him. I know that. I want to make a quick remark about former Delegate Catch. He and I served together in the 70s in the General Assembly when we were not stymied by the strident partisanship that prevents so much from happening today. We crossed the aisle all the time and got things done on behalf of the people. Thank goodness for the enlightened leadership now in Baltimore County. This budget foretells better things ahead. The quality of life in Baltimore County has suffered over years now because of the mindless support for no taxes. That obviously it was appealing to the public, but it got us into trouble, and that was known in the last budget. As Carolyn Colvin mentioned in her remarks, she actually read from a footnote in the prior budget which recognized the need to raise significant revenues in the future. So we knew this day was coming, and we are at a crossroads, and I hope that we don't fall into regression where we cut services or there are no more taxes. The tax increase is necessary. We really can't escape it. You've got to make up the budget deficit. So I realize my time is running very short. There are so many worthy projects in the budget that need support. We supported Trade Point for the massive funding that it required in Sparrows Point, the Arts and Entertainment District in Catonsville, and the Baltimore County Arts Guild that we're working with. And I just want to close with a quote from one of our greatest sages and deepest thinkers, Yogi Berra. Yogi said, "When you come to a fork in the road, take it." I hope you'll take the right fork in this road and lead us into a better future.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Douglas Stanley, followed by Steve Whalen.
Thank you, Chairman Quirk and members of the council. My name is Doug Stanley. I'm a resident of Dundalk. I'm also the chair of the Baltimore County Subcommittee for the Libertarian Party of Maryland. I am here in opposition to the tax increases because I do not feel there was enough transparency and outreach to the citizens of every district of this county in order to foster, what Mr. Olszewski is trying to do. I believe that there is a lot more waste to be found in the budget, and I think that we need to really hunker down and find it. I understand schools need to be funded. I understand that our roads need to be funded. We've got terrible roads in Dundalk, and I'd like to see all that stuff taken care of. But I want to just let you guys know that the tax increases further to diminish the middle class in our less affluent areas such as Dundalk, Middle River, and the West Side. So that's basically all I really wanted to say. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Steve Whalen, followed by Michael Spodak.
Mr. Chair, members of the council, my name is Steve Whalen. Most of you know me. I'm a mid-sized developer from Catonsville. I'm the guy with a big project that didn't get the $43 million or the $78 million. And I'm still here developing in Baltimore County because I do love this place. There are a couple bills on the table right now. And I have to tell you, having looked at them very carefully, Councilman Mark's bill is actually the most tightly drafted, and it deserves consideration. I've also had the opportunity to speak with Councilman Jones, and I have the sense, and I hope that the two of them represent the attitude that you'll bring to this decision and discussion, that sitting down and working this out comprehensively and thoughtfully is very important, okay? One thing that I will say, and here's an idea that actually came from a gentleman sitting up on the dais, is think about on impact fees whether or not you wouldn't be willing to consider a sunset provision. You know, there's a push in order to get a year before the effective date, and then perhaps another 2 years for you all to look at the possibility of coming back, forcing yourselves and the administration to come back and review the situation and seeing if it works or not. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I'll hit 3 real quick points. I think it's important to have a July 1, 2020 effective date. These projects take forever, as you know, and it's not fair to come in at the last minute and impose a huge fee on something like that. Please remember that the developer, we're the bad guys, but we do pay for off-site work that is not directly associated with our project that benefits other folks, and we'd like to see a credit perhaps given for off-site infrastructure work that we do that benefits others. And lastly, the issue of timing of payments. It's great to get all your cash up front. I wish I could do business like that, but perhaps there's a way to stretch the payments out, some at the beginning and some when we get our tenants in our buildings, and that would be, I think, fair. I'm willing to do my share. I ask you to look very carefully at this bill before you make a final decision. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Michael Spodak, followed by Jeanette Young.
Good evening, Councilman, Councilperson. My name is Jeanette Young. I'm President of Education Support Professionals of Baltimore County. I come to you tonight to implore that you approve County Executive Johnny Olszewski's budget. With the projection in capital growth, increasing student needs, and alarming rate of discipline concerns regarding the demand, a robust support staff. Many of the students entering the school doors have experienced some type of trauma in their young lives. While behavior interventionists, social workers, and counselors may be the first people you think of when you hear supporting students with behavior needs, I'm here to tell you a title does not make a student connect with a staff person. More frequent than you may realize, some support staff are filling gaps in plans, allowing supervisors and teachers an opportunity to assist in crisis situations. Again, I ask you to adopt County Executive's budget. According to the Department of Legislative Services analysis, more than 24,000 education support professionals dedicate their careers to the education of our children, do not make enough money to support their families. They work seconds and sometimes third jobs to make ends meet. As the legislature taken the work of filling funding gaps in our schools, it must dedicate new funding to treat these public servants with respect and dignity in making a living wage. Your adoption of a budget which provides financial compensation to education support staff can only provide them with some financial relief. Without financial relief, the compensation gap will grow for education support professionals. Fair and equitable compensation will aid in maintaining and sustaining support staff in all areas of the school system. Last but not least, it would highlight your belief system by demonstrating your confidence in the contribution ESP make to our school system are relevant and vital. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Dana Bergman, followed by Carolyn Black-Sotier.
What's poppin', Baltimore County? I think we should all thank each other because we just made history again. You see how many people were out here today? Not just in here, but outside. It was like amazing. So, you know it's not a party unless I show up. And you see this 30? Let me tell you about this 30. We shouldn't celebrate 30 years without raising taxes because that's not going to do us any good, okay? You see my little naughty something here? You know what I have right here? A vision. A vision that if we all work together, we can make Baltimore County better. We can continue making history. The beginning of that starts with this budget proposal. Okay, we haven't seen a county executive have such a great, bold vision for Baltimore County in decades. Do you want me to tell you what I was doing in 1992? I was 12 years old in South Florida. Hurricane Andrew took our house, my whole neighborhood, my whole school. We had nothing. We had to tax everybody down there and put a bunch of palm trees in order to make up for that and build that school. Took 5 years. You know what? Lansdowne High School can't wait. And neither should any other school in Baltimore County. But I promise you, we're going to lead and set an example, not just for Lansdowne, not just for Baltimore County, but for the whole state of Maryland. Whole state of Maryland, that we will never let any school look that embarrassing ever again. The same thing with our Wilkins Police Precinct, because let me tell you, if someone's naughty, they shouldn't be climbing out of there like Jack the Green Spawner, get out of there. That's not cool, so we got to fix that. So I want to thank everybody in Baltimore County for coming out and making history, because together we could all move forward and build a better Baltimore County.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Carolyn Black-Sotier, followed by Linda Dorsey Walker.
Good evening, Chairman Quirk and members of the County Council. I am Carolyn Black-Sotier and have been a Baltimore County resident for more than 30 years. I live in Councilman Catch's district. I am a business owner in Chairman Quirk's district, and my husband and I reared our 3 sons in a Baltimore County home in which Councilman Patoka now resides. I've been all over the county. Currently, I serve as chair of the Baltimore County Commission on Arts and Sciences. The 16-member commission comprises businessmen and women, artists, educators. We are a rather diverse group of individuals representing all parts of the county with varying and at times opposing views. I am here, however, to express on behalf of my fellow commissioners our unanimous support and enthusiasm for County Executive Olszewski's proposed budget and his strategy to utilize arts to support and generate tourism, economic development, and high quality of life standards. We are excited by the executive's commitment to making Baltimore County a place where people not only want to work, but just as importantly, as my millennial children remind me, a place to live, to play, to dine out, to ride bikes, to take hikes, to enjoy music and art, a place to rear a young family. So, as a mother who hopes her children will, in the future, put down roots close to home, I encourage your support for the county executive's forward-looking vision for the county and his strategy to realize that vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Linda Dorsey Walker, followed by Ruth Katz.
Good evening. My name is Linda Dorsey Walker. First of all, I want to say that I come in support of the proposed budget and the underlying revenue building actions that will make it possible to enact. I want to speak with you tonight about a group of people who have little or no voice. While I applaud the fact that there's going to be a 2%, hopefully, increase to teacher pay, I want to talk about the fact that there are many individuals who will not be getting a similar increase. Specifically, many of our retired folks, our seniors, who work in our school system as substitute teachers and other non-teaching staff. Who looks out for them? Who speaks up for them? I came tonight to do that. In 1979, the average substitute teacher pay for someone with a degree was $68 a day. Today, 40 years later, it's $92 a day. Does anyone care about that? Earlier, we heard someone talk about the fact that there's a shortage of substitute teacher and other staff in schools. Many of these individuals in Baltimore County are among the most highly educated people in the building some days. They are retired professionals and retired administrators and other folks. Montgomery County pays its substitute teachers and other support non-teaching staff, professionals teaching staff, a much higher wage. In California, they passed a law saying that every time teachers get an increase to their salary, the exact same increase must be given to all other individuals working in and around the school building. And I encourage you to do that. And on a personal note, I want to say thank you and give recognition to Keith Dorsey, Budget and Finance Director of Baltimore County, my brother.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Ruth Getz, followed by Alan Huff.
Hi, my name is Ruth Getz. I'm part of the Baltimore County Republican Central Committee. I attend a lot of these county session meetings, as I think the county council members kind of recognize me. I normally don't speak, but one of the things that I do want to say, one of the things I kind of learned from tonight and other school board meetings that I have attended, which I really don't understand. I know you're not going to answer my question, but one of the questions I had are why are there so many children in our public school system that need social and emotional support? Why are there so many of them have food insecurity? It's a new term I just learned tonight. And also the overcrowdedness and the buildings, our school buildings, I've been hearing about how terrible they are, but yet I know we spend millions and millions of dollars for public schools. We get money from the lottery, supposed to go help the education, our property taxes, which you want to increase. So I just don't understand why we have so many problems, but whatever. So I just wanted to bring that out. And also I spend many hours going to council meetings. I spent many hours, like many of us here tonight, watching meetings and seeing how the meetings are run. And we, in Maryland, we pretty much live under a one-party rule. So in the county council, we just need one person on the council to vote with the minority party to make a change. And I would like to see a change in our council. It's really easy for the council and the county executive to propose a budget to raise taxes. It's easy for the council to suck more money out of the taxpayer, but that really does have a detriment for our families. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alan Huff, followed by Max Ruzga. Is Alan here? Okay. Max Ruzga, followed by Ruth Goldstein. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Max Rosga. I'm the Vice President of the Greater Pikesville Recreation Council. I'm here for really one reason. Part of the budget was a part saying that cutting back $500,000 for grooming of recreation fields or ball fields, but I have not been able to get an answer from anybody in the county of what they exactly mean. Grooming of the field, does that mean dragging it, cutting the grass? Because out of 44 rec councils in Baltimore County, they can't afford it. Because we're all volunteers. None of us get paid. Everything we do is for free. And we represent, at least in Pikesville, I represent probably 5,000 kids. And everything we do is for free. We have kids that can't afford to do anything, and we pay for it. We have kids that can afford to pay for it, and we do that. And that also brings me to the point of the Pikesville Armory. You as a council have a chance to influence the county executive to say yes to the governor to take over the Pikesville Armory. And we can make that into a great facility for public use, for recreation, arts, senior center for the people of Pikesville. And not only people of Pikesville, but people around Pikesville. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Ruth Goldstein, followed by Grace Kubasek. Sorry, Grace. How'd you say Grace? Good evening, Ruth.
Okay. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you all, County Council, for so patiently listening to all of this testimony, and to my County Councilman, Izzy Patoka, and I hope listening with an open heart and an open mind. I also want to thank County Executive Johnny Olszewski for what I view as a courageous and bold budget proposal. I think it's courageous because ultimately this is a philosophical and a moral vote that you are taking. Whether you will vote for the self-interest of a few or for the prosperity of the entire community. I am one of those seniors who lives on a limited income that everyone's been talking about today. But even I recognize that putting money into aging infrastructure, education, public health, and the environment is good for my property values, good for my quality of life, and ultimately good for my pocketbook. As the president of Friends of Pikesville Library, I coordinate a speaker series that offers continuing education programs that are free and open to the public that serves approximately 100 seniors each week for 9 months out of the year, every Wednesday afternoon. But we have to turn people away because the parking lot is so antiquated it can't handle the popular programs offered at the site, which we share with the Pikesville Senior Center. As a member of Thousand Friends of Pikesville and of the Governor's Commission to study the future of the Pikesville Armory, I especially endorse funding for arts and entertainment districts in Baltimore County, which currently has none, as a way to support our aging neighborhoods, encourage community engagement, and yes, increase the tax base. The old adage that you have to spend money to make money couldn't be more true. I'll wrap this up. For far too long, there's been an elephant in Baltimore County's living room. Who in this room lives on the same income they earned a quarter century ago? It's been more than 25 years since taxes were raised in Baltimore County. And during that time, our services and infrastructure have suffered. We all know that a house that isn't maintained deteriorates and loses value. I support this budget because it's time to get that elephant out of the living room and renovate our house.
Thank you. Grace, then Jan Hayden, then Samuel Jordan. Good evening, Grace.
Good evening, Council Member and Chair Quirk and members of the Baltimore County Council. My name is Grace Kavovsik. I am the president of the Patapsco Heritage Greenway. A portion of Baltimore County is a part of the wonderful gem of the Patapsco Valley Heritage Area. Being part of a heritage area brings rewards. In February 2015, we became certified. Baltimore County has received more than $53,000 in funding through state heritage grants. We know you can do better, and we intend to work with you to make that happen. In FY19, our organization supported 7 Baltimore County organizations sponsoring their programs or events. They included Catonsville Rails to Trails, Spring Grove Arboretum, the Historical Society of Baltimore County, Historic Old Salem, Baltimore County Arts Guild, Loriman Woodland Theater, and the Catonsville Chamber of Commerce. We also work in the environment, and it is our intention to continue to work to improve the valley's environment through stream cleanups, tree plantings, and invasive species removal. Why are we here tonight? You support our organization. We support the county executive's budget as proposed. We know these are difficult questions and there are difficult issues for you. We urge you to rise to the occasion, as your executive has, and to make big steps forward and assure future progress, particularly as it relates to the environment and the heritage of your county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Our next speaker, Jan Hayden, and then our last speaker for the evening, Samuel Jordan. Is Samuel here? Okay. And good evening, Jan. Thank you for your patience, everybody's patience for being here still.
Good evening to you. Good evening to Council Chair Tom Quirk and to the other county council members. I am from Catonsville, and yes, it's true, life is great in 21228. I'm here to speak against the amount of the increase in the county budget, not against the county budget totally. What I've seen here tonight is sort of pitting developers against education advocates, against environmental advocates, against taxpayers. Everybody has a piece of the pie. And I just feel like we can take that pie and not make it a 10-inch pie, but perhaps make it an 8-inch pie. I believe that justification for impact fees should not be because other counties have it. I can remember when Carroll County did it. I'm a realtor. It took Carroll County over 8 years to recover from that. 8 years. That's a long time. That's a lot of houses that were not built because of impact fees. I just do what you want with that, but that's how I feel about it. What I'm asking you to do is find other ways that you can cut money from this proposed budget. One way was really mentioned here this evening, the cell phone tax. If what we are short is $1 million and it can raise $29 million, why do we need $350 per phone, per household, per month? You've at least got $25 to $28 million that you could cut out of this $80+ million budget increase. And I think how I'd like to close is, contrary to popular belief, I'm a taxpayer. I'm not an ATM machine.
Thank you. And then our last speaker for the evening, Mr. Samuel Jordan.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Samuel Jordan, President of the Baltimore Transit Equity Coalition. We are a regional coalition, and we support this budget enthusiastically, particularly its transportation initiatives. In fact, we think it might be a bit modest with respect to its expenditures in education and transportation. Our coalition seeks to reverse the horrific error committed by Governor Hogan in 2015 when he canceled the Red Line Light Rail project. The Red Line will anchor a regional, equitable, multimodal transportation system with at least 3,000 new jobs for Baltimore County of the 10,000 jobs to build the Red Line. About a quarter of the route lies in western Baltimore County. With this dramatically reduced commute times and reliability, the $2.9 billion and environmentally friendly Red Line will also generate over $6.5 billion in transit-oriented development and another 3,000 permanent jobs. The Baltimore region cannot compete with the leading cities in the nation if we do not have a modern transportation system. The Red Line, like the Purple Line to the south, will transform the regional economy. Our advocates are today conducting bus stop interviews in Catonsville. Our goal is to collect at least 50 stories in each councilmanic district. We ask each rider, how would you improve your daily commute? With their answers, we hope to encourage each council member to convene a district town hall on transportation needs. We will share our findings and their implications with your new Deputy for Transportation in the Department of Public Works. Our coalition will also urge the council and executive to develop enforceable protections of the right to equal access for all on all transportation services that are supported by at least $1 of federal or county funds. We call this a Title VI equivalent strategy. Finally, we insist that regional leadership in transportation equity and systems through the formation of a regional transportation authority is the challenge that the Baltimore County Council and the executive must meet if our region is ever again to rank among the leading cities and metropolitan areas of the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And the County Council will begin its review of individual agency budgets next week on May 6th. These hearings will continue through May 16th. These hearings are open to the public and will be live streamed on the council's website. Budget adoption, including the vote on the budget-related bills, is scheduled for Thursday, May 23rd at 10 a.m. In closing, I want to thank all of you for coming this evening. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for everyone being professional and respectful and generally very, very good citizens. So with that note, please be safe driving home, and thanks again for coming out and participating. Take care.